Okay, I think if we can take seats and silence cell phones. I didn't hear the chief get that out yet. You probably already did. Roger. Let's silence our cell phones. And we're all present and accounted for. I'm going to officially call us to order. And so the meeting is officially called to order for the City Council regular meeting on Wednesday, July 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m. But first, I'd like to introduce Marcy Bowsam and her granddaughter, Lee Jackson, if you guys want to come up here. And her husband, Roger, is in the back and wants to sit this one out as the photographer, right? It's a great excuse, Roger. Okay, but I'm introducing them. They won the scavenger hunt for our 50th anniversary that our librarian, Linda Crosland, put together. And they did a great job. And it wasn't easy, right? There was a lot going on, a lot of different places you had to go. You had clues you had to figure out. And you guys were the first ones and the only ones, Linda?
Oh, there were dozens.
Dozens, but they were first that came through and had all the pictures correct and had everything right, correct? So the award for that, other than just personal pride, is the fact that they get to be mayor for a day. They opted out of the mayor for a day, which I can understand, because it's been a long day, because you guys are way smart. So they opted out of that and said, hey, we saw your office, that's great, but how about we call the meeting to order? And with your gavel, do you have it? No, okay. You have a special gavel though, right?
I know, but
No, Roger, now you have to get in on this. This is how this works, to make it official. We'll put it right up here.
oh dear.
And, okay, Kat, it's good to see you, by the way. Okay, so please, both of you, call the meeting to order and hit the gavel.
Okay. This meeting is called to order.
You can do a little bit more authority than that. That's what I'm talking about. Please say, meeting's called to order.
The meeting is called to order.
Okay, now, if you will say, please rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise and follow me in the Pledge of
A
Allegiance.
natural mayor. Okay. Okay. Go.
Go. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's join me in the Texas oath.
Please join me in the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Let's give them a round of applause. That was great.
Right, she's resigned already.
Now, she's resigning as the mayor for the day. Lee, can I offer you? You did a great job in front of your principal and athletic director, too. So Coach Z and Mr. Deloach are here. So it's natural. Okay, thank you so much. And congrats and great job on the scavenger hunt. That's the fun part. Okay, continuing with the fun part, we did this last year with the July meeting. We do it in July because August gets extremely busy for these two gentlemen. So may I introduce to you the second year in a row, Principal Matthew Deloach from Davenport High School and Coach J.D. Zimmerhansel, who's the head football coach and the athletic director for Davenport High School. Go Wolves, Wolves Nation. And they're here to talk about all things Davenport High School and the fall sports lineup. So gentlemen, if you'll come forward, the mic's already on. And go Wolves. Go Wolves.
Well, I'll let him do most of the talking, but I wanted to say thank y'all again for having us up here. It's always weird to talk to y'all or them or both, and so because everybody needs to hear it. But as always, thank y'all so much for partnering with the high school. Don't have any formal presentation to sit up here and give you because we're right in the middle of getting everything ready to start beginning to give formal presentations to everybody. Last school year was great. This coming school year, we're growing. Going to have about 400 more students this year than we did last year. We're battling just like every other school in the country with a teacher shortage right now. So if you know anybody, we need some math teachers and a dual credit Spanish teacher. If anybody happens to know somebody, send them our way. We're still hiring, so we need that. Got our scores in. We're holding neck and neck with all the other high schools in the district on an academic side of things. Always room for improvement, but we're moving in the right directions there. Our faculty is increasing by about 30% to give in line with the population growth on student side. So those are kind of the big things going on at Davenport. We continue to see our students be part of Garden Ridge as a city, and we want to continue that. I believe our ROTC partnered with y'all for Flag Bearer during your 4th of July parade. So we want to continue to do that and support the city any way we can. So if there's anything y'all need from us, let us know. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Coach Zimmer Hansel. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Principal Deloach. Coach C.
All right. Thank you for allowing us to come over here and speak about Davenport. A lot of great things are going on at Davenport. This is last year was our second year, and on the sports side, we had so many success stories that I could talk to you about. Just kind of the main points. Pretty much every single one of our team sports made playoffs in just the second year. We had a couple kids qualify for state in powerlifting and tennis, and we actually had our first state champion in track and field. Kiana Van Haren won the long jump. She jumped 18 feet 8 inches. So if you don't know, that's pretty good ways there. So we're very proud. We put Davenport definitely on the map. We got people all around. Every time I go to a place in Austin, we went to 7-on-7 state qualifying tournament in College Station. They said, "Where's Davenport?" We're right here in this community called Garden Ridge. And they're at Garden Ridge. Where's that at? So definitely people are figuring out where Davenport is and all the great talent that we have over here. So a lot of great things from last year and moving forward this year. This summer, we have a camp pretty much every week at Davenport, from kindergarten kids all the way up to our seniors. And every day you go up there, you're going to see kids from kindergarten all the way up to senior working out, having fun, getting after it, and keeping them busy. And we want to keep on partnering with Garden Ridge Elementary and Danville Middle School and Morningside Elementary of getting kids up to our school and keeping them active. As you all know, in this day of age, mental health is a big deal, right? And with the shootings in Uvalde and everything else, definitely our district does a good job with the security and everything that's going on, and they're upping the game with security with it. From our standpoint, from the athletic standpoint, if we could just get kids out and be part of something, then we're doing our job. Because studies show that, kids that want to go to school, that feel loved, that are active and participating in something, then it's going to be less likely of a chance for those things to happen. And we pride ourselves in Davenport. We have 92% of our population, of our kids, they're involved in something. You look at other schools around, that doesn't always happen like that. And that 8%, we're looking at every day. We're trying to fill in the gaps. How can we get those kids involved in something? So specifically, athletics does a great job where we can provide a lot of opportunities for them to participate. Coming up this fall, be our first true varsity football season, and we're excited about that. Get ready to have a parade for homecoming again. Sorry if we're going to have candy. We'll try to pick it all up. But we're going to do the same parade as we did last year. We appreciate everything from the first year, and it's always going to get better, just like the July 4th thing. So a lot of people are excited about that. Everybody keeps talking about, hey, we're going to keep doing the parade, and we're going to keep that tradition going as long as we can. So looking forward to that. And, we partnered with George Ranch. I was actually at the George Ranch HOA meeting talking about the noise into George Ranch. So we try to do our best we can of buying new speaker systems for practice and trying to keep the levels down. But at the end of the day, we're there for the kids. The kids get excited about it. They like the music, and we got to practice band. We got to have ROTC. We have to have kids yelling. So we try to do the best we can to be good neighbors. And our doors are always open for anybody that has complaints or anything like that. We'll be happy to work with them, because we want to make sure we partner with the community and make sure we're doing stuff right by everybody. And volleyball, we're starting up in 2 weeks. Football, 2 weeks. We have our football camp next week. August 1st, everything is going on. Football, cross country, volleyball, and tennis. We're all starting up. So we're going to be out there in the heat, make sure our kids are hydrated and getting after them and getting them involved. We're ready to make Garden Ridge proud and this whole community. Good things are going to be happening this year. Thank you. Go Wolves. BTP.
I got your back.
There we go.
Hey, the whole council needs to say that. If he says BTP, build the pack, we say, I got your back. Coach,
Are you ready?
one more time.
BTP.
I got your back.
All right, there you
First
go.
home game for varsity?
Our first home game for varsity. Oh, God, you got me on the spot.
Sorry. It's after we play Victoria West away on the 26th of
Yes.
August, right?
So, yeah, so
So-
that next Friday after that.
Okay. That's great. And then
I'm thinking
homecoming.
1 week at a time. We got Wembley, our first home scrimmage.
That's right.
I mean, we'll have stuff going on all the time on Fridays.
So
and-
Friday the 2nd is our first home game of September, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And hopefully, here's the update on the tower. I know last year we were here. So we looked at wanting to paint our tower with the Wolf logo and then lighting it up. Well, the cost was $30,000, a little bit more than we thought. So we had a campaign in the spring to try to get that going, and it wasn't very successful. We didn't even get $1,000 on it. So our booster club has been pushing that. We're about to come out and push it again. They're coming up with a new campaign, and we're looking at just doing lighting it up maroon right now. They said they could do that in 3 days. They could light the whole tower up maroon. I can get it from my phone. And we're looking at, since it's going to be just Booster Club, we weren't able to raise throughout the whole school. So any varsity sport that wins, we're going to light it up on our phone. And this tower will be lit up maroon. So that's the goal for this year. So that first home game, it's going to be lit up maroon. So when you're driving back from the game, you'll see the tower lit up maroon, and we'll sing our fight song, Alma Mater, on the football field, looking at the tower of Garden Ridge, lit up maroon. And then eventually, hopefully, we could get that extra $15,000. So it's $15,000 for lights, $15,000 for painting, basically. And so we're going to try to get the lights, since it's going to be a quick turnaround. We're going to try to get that done on this next campaign, and then try to go from there with the painting of the wolf head. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at there. So if anybody here, any good donors or anybody that wants to kind of boost that up is coming out on that campaign to light it up, and the Booster Club's going to try to raise $15,000 to get that lit up.
And that's not just Davenport High School, that's Wolf Nation. So that's the whole community, Garden Ridge Elementary School, Danville Middle School, Davenport High School, Garden Ridge, and our surrounding community, because we have so many kids and students that come from outside of Garden Ridge to go to Davenport High School. So
Yes, sir.
outstanding.
All right.
And homecoming's the 7th of October, Friday night. Homecoming parade is Wednesday, the 5th.
The 5th.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So we'll talk about that at next month's council meeting, about possible time shifts for having council that night after the homecoming parade.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank
Appreciate
you all
it.
for what you do for the community. Appreciate it.
Come see you guys out. Okay, that concludes item number 3, presentations, and we are right into item number 4, citizen comment period. We have 4 people signed up to come and speak tonight. Remember, we can't make comments on what you have to say, but we're listening, we're taking notes, and we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate what you have to say. And everybody has 3 minutes. If you could start out with your name and address for the record, and we'll go from there. Mr. Bill Swint, sir. Floor is yours, sir.
I have to tell you, I hate to follow the football coach. That's, I don't care where you are in Texas, that's a tough chore. I'm Bill Swint. I reside at 8440 Twisted Oaks here in Garden Ridge. Mr. Mayor, Council, and Administration, I was here last month and talked to you a little bit about the effects of what we perceive the location of the cement plant close to our church and the activities there. I got through all of those things, and then I realized that one of the more important things that I did not address are the funerals that we have at our church, where we have a 150-year tradition of walking the casket to the cemetery just down the road. Nacogdoches is closed off. The Sheriff's Department does that for us, and so I don't know if the cement trucks realize that, but that's a tradition that we very much don't want to lose. So I would just make you aware of that. I will also pass along something that in my service on the school board, I remembered that we had property on 2252 and down close to Interstate 35. If you come out of the quarry and you just drive straight toward 35, it's on the right. We did not build a school there. I did not support that, and I told them I would work against that. It was not a good location for that. It's only 20 acres. It's not big enough now to build a school, and we have built schools around it. So I encouraged the cement folks to contact Comal ISD. I gave them a phone number and prefaced a conversation with someone up there. I don't know if that took place. I don't know if they were able to reach them. I did try to call Comal today, and the lady that I talked with said, well, I sent you the information. I said, well, no, ma'am, you didn't. I have never talked to you before. But I'm glad to know that somebody requested it, and it's a little late. The meeting is tonight, but if that were the cement people, then that's good. They've got the information. It's ideal for them. It's perfect. They can come straight out of the quarry, straight toward 35, turn in, go to their plant, fill up with concrete, and get right out onto 35. Again, I don't know if that has been listed as surplus property, but I just wanted to bring you up to date with where things were and in the issue with the funerals that we process down Nacogdoches as the Sheriff's Department closes that road off. And I'll have a hard time trying to convince the congregation not to do that. So at any rate, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Tony Frasco. It's good to see you, sir. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I didn't make the 50th anniversary, but congratulations to the town. I'm here tonight to talk about the cement plant. I feel as though it's a detriment where it's proposed. I think there should have been an environmental impact study done because, number one, we're faced with grit and dust and everything else from the quarry. And I know my lungs are affected by it, and I know a lot of other people are, and my furniture and my house and everything else. But the tower is too high, and I hope the council looks at all of this for the residents, because I'm concerned about Garden Ridge, because I love Garden Ridge. I settled here for the rest of my life, so I wanted to remain Garden Ridge and something really special. So I would suggest anything that's brought up to the council or to the zoning board, that they do an environmental survey. I used to demand that all the time when I was a councilman. I want to know how it's going to affect the people I represent, and that's a number one priority. We have to take care of the people in town, and we have to worry about their health. The traffic is going to be a problem. We're plagued with large trucks now, and I just think we should vote it down now, because I cannot see any good for Garden Ridge, which is a great community, and I want it to last another 50 years and have all the residents, because I already talked to some residents, and they said if it goes in, they're moving out. And it's not a threat, they're for real, and I know them very well, and they'll do it. And I don't want to see that. I think all the people in town want to stay in town, and if it's going to be a detriment, then I think it should be voted down. So that's why I'm here tonight. So I thank you very much, and I apologize again for not being at the anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Kevin Weist. Floor is yours, sir.
Kevin Weist, 20400 FM 2252, Unit 1. I stand before y'all this evening to talk to y'all, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, Admin, for being here and listening to me. My family and I directly own property that borders that piece of property. And I can tell you, and I'm trying to do this without getting upset, but I'm going to tell you now, we have 2 cemeteries there. Without these environmental studies, y'all don't know the kind of ground vibration that these places cause. The noise pollution, the air pollution, the water pollution. My great-great-grandfather built that house in 1870 that I now own, that I bought. That was 20 years before the railroad was here, before the Bracken Church was here. You know, and I can tell you, I don't recognize most of y'all. I do recognize Mr. Smith, but we have a long history. And I can tell you now, I don't want that dust in my eyes, in my face, every day in my air conditioner. I don't want that ground pollution. That is a big area there there's a lot of floodplain. And if y'all look, and I would invite y'all to go out and look, I would invite y'all to come out to my property and come look next door what I'm facing. How they have raised that up, it pushes the water right into our family cemetery that's been there since the 1870s. We've got plenty of graves. With the excess water and the pollution, we're going to have those graves flooding, the noise vibration, the ground vibration. What is that going to do to those cemeteries that are there? There's 2 of them, not just one, there's 2. And I would invite each and every one of y'all to come out and take a look at that, because when y'all make a decision tonight, my fear is that y'all are sitting here looking at the tax revenue, which is probably $500 million a year or $500,000 a year. You know, please, I know some of y'all come from Houston, from Utah. I've seen some of y'all's bios. Please look around. Y'all say that y'all want this to be a small town feel. That's the only way it's going to stay that way, is by keeping that kind of stuff out of here. We can only push so far. There are so many cement plants. Hanson, we have dealt for years with cracks in the ceilings and the walls, unlevel houses because of all the blasting down there at Hanson. And I'm telling you guys, y'all need to take a serious look at this. You know, this isn't a decision we make based on tax revenue. Please don't do that to us. You know, my family's been here more than 150 years, and most things here in this area. And I definitely don't want us to be the last generation to be here because we all had to leave because we couldn't breathe anymore. We're 300 feet from that quarry, or from that plant. And if y'all look at studies, they show the minimum distance you should live from a cement plant is 5 miles. I assure you, I don't live 5 miles. I barely live 50 yards from there, okay? So please, thank you guys for your time, but please take me seriously and consider everything.
Thank you, Kevin. Ms. Janice Rose. The floor is yours.
How are y'all?
Good.
Thank you very much for having us come up and speak to y'all. And I live across the road from where they're planning on building it, right next to Hanson. So my name is Janice Rose, and I live at 20469 FM 2252. And first of all, I'd ask all of y'all, how would you like to look out your front door and see a 80-foot tower? I know I don't really want to. Hope I don't have to. And I think I know y'all's answer too. Most of my concerns are with the traffic, just like the previous 3 gentlemen have mentioned. Traffic on 2252 is horrendous. Whenever there's a wreck on 35, if you've ever been on 2252, it's bumper to bumper from 3009 all the way to Hanson. The concrete trucks entering and leaving the plant would be about 200 trucks. That's a lot, in addition to what we already have. With the IH-35 construction that's proposed, our little 2-lane 2252 will be horrible to travel, because I know traffic will come off of 35 to go a shortcut to San Antonio or to New Braunfels. I agree with Bill when he said something about our funerals. I've been a lifelong member at Bracken, and I know that that's going to affect our funerals, our burials that we have, and I would ask that y'all would please consider not approving this. And I know, and I'm not going to repeat all this because Bill already said that at the last meeting, and I know he said it again, highlighted on a few things now about our church. Our church is very active out there, and just our pumpkin patch in itself is tremendous, and I'm sure all of you have enjoyed it. I know I have. I work also there every week when we have it. And when we do have our fall festival or anything, or even on Saturdays, the cars are parked on both sides of the road all the way down to the cemetery in front of my house, and it's just really dangerous. I listened to the May Planning and Zoning meeting, and the members had very good questions that could not be directly answered, and I thank them for their questions. I would also like to thank y'all for serving, for being willing to listen to us that have property out there, and I would ask for you to disapprove their variance request. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, that concludes item number 4, the citizen comment period. We'll go on to item number 5, the consent agenda, and I'll read this just so everybody can hear it out in the audience. Consent agenda, these items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item would be considered outside the consent agenda. With that in mind, does anybody have any items from the consent agenda they would like pulled? To my right? No. To my left? Okay, if nobody has anything to pull from the consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Can I get a second? We have a second.
Second the motion to approve it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda passes. We'll be on to item number 6, staff reports. Item 6A is City Administrator Monthly Activity Report. Nancy, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I have a lot to report tonight that's in addition to what you have in your packet. The first thank you that we received was from Fat Boy Canaliccio. Fat Boy thanks the City of Garden Ridge for hearing his story and using it as an inspiration for positive change. Thanks the council for seeing him as a family member and finding a way for him to go back home. And he says he's a city resident, but his mother doesn't think that he's ready to attend city council meetings. So he invites you over to meet him. And on the front of the thank you note, there were some pictures of Fat Boy. Okay. The next thank you we have is Councilmember Bauer sent a thank you to Terry Jetter for reaching out to her about the concerns citizens were having with the AT&T outages. And she says many thanks to Terry for that. Okay, we have 2 employee anniversaries during the month of July. Kat Balby, 4 years. And Officer Richard McMahon, 14 years. Thank you all for your service to the city. Okay, the next item I want to report and update the council on is probably one of the most important things that I have in my packet tonight. I wanted to update the council on the AT&T outage that affected a number of residents in the city of Garden Ridge for a period of 30 to approximately 30-ish days. Apparently, the first ticket was filed about the outage on June 6th. We had a large group of residents that had no landline service through AT&T. We did not find out about this outage until some citizens contacted me as well as Councilmember Arvidsson. We tried to contact AT&T. It wasn't very successful on the city's part. Finally, Monday, we were able to make contact with AT&T, with a individual who was ready to help the city of Garden Ridge resolve a problem with the outage. What we were told is the equipment failure was in their central office that was serving the area, plus there were challenges with obtaining the replacement part to make the repairs. That was corrected and replaced on July the 7th, but as of Monday, there were still, or as of Tuesday, there were still problems with some of the, with ingoing, outgoing calls. They sent a repairman out, and they did find that there was a blown fuse, which that was taken care of on the 12th yesterday. And apparently, as far as we are aware, everybody has their landline service with AT&T. However, if anyone is aware of anyone that is still experiencing problems, please give me a call. We now have contact with AT&T. I will be meeting with the Assistant Vice President of External Affairs. In other words, that would be the city's representative. And I will be meeting with them on the 21st. So, are there any questions that I can answer perhaps, or from council?
So that's exactly how that should work. So we have lots of ordinances, we have full-time staff in different departments, but we can't cover everything. We didn't know about that until we got phone calls. So to members of council and to the city, we started acting upon it and not getting too many places with that. And then someone came along and helped us out with someone that they know at a high level on AT&T and
Yes.
helped us to fix the problem. So thanks. When in doubt, call the city, let us know about it. We can start working it.
Rob, may I say something?
Sure.
I just wanted to say, too, that as soon as we were made aware of it, we made sure that PD was aware of it for the sake of people who might not have emergency services available to them and so on. So they were aware from very early on of the affected area. So they were hyper vigilant in that area to be sure that, you know, no additional crises.
Outstanding. Thank you, Kay. Nancy, continue, please.
Okay. On June 18th, we had our annual Shred Day that was sponsored by the Suzanne Kuntz Realty Group. I don't know how many containers of paper were shred, but there were 120 vehicles that brought documents up to our community center to be shred. And the event started at 10 a.m., and at 10 a.m. there were already 18 vehicles in line to attend the event. I've also heard that the Realty Group is also anxious about being able to do another one next year. All right, volunteer Garden Ridge hours for the month of June were 398. 12 were from the Bill Stuffers. 199 total from Parks Committee and assistance that the Parks Committee receives from non-members, and 187 hours for the library. Okay. Next item, the fun item, is First Friday at Paul Davis Park, August 5th, 5:30 to 7:30. Food trucks and beverages, and come and visit with your city council and fellow Garden Ridge residents.
Yeah, the theme is hot August nights, so, and
Hot August
margaritas.
nights.
So we won't have Neil Diamond there, but we'll have Paul Duke there to play the guitar again. We'll have plenty of Chewy's margaritas and whatever else anybody else wants to have, and food trucks. And it's catching on, so come on out. It's where all the cool people are on Friday night.
And then I just have one more item to remind the council about. As the fiscal year 23 budget and 22 tax rate schedules, we have two schedules if we're able to file the budget on the 25th of July. We will follow Schedule 1. If we can't file it until August the 2nd, then we will be following Schedule 2. Please make sure your calendars are marked. There are a lot of special meetings, and it will take a supermajority of the council to conduct those meetings. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thanks, Nancy. And looking to my right, Rookie, we need you at the budget meetings. Supermajority, of course. Okay. Actually, I should look left to non-rookie to make sure you're there. The senior man, that's right. Okay, thanks, Nancy. On to 6B. So Christine Green, this is your first official full-up council meeting, yes? Thanks for being here, and the floor is yours. Speaking of budget season.
Can you hear me? Bring it closer. Better? Okay. Basically, with finance, we're just working with staff right now to get the budget or the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 ready for yourself and then council as well. And Tina and I are just kind of settling into our new positions. It's been about 6 weeks for me, almost 2 months for Tina, and I think we're kind of just trudging along. That's pretty much all I've got.
I have no doubt. Looking forward to this budget season. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have anything for Christine? Okay, thanks. On to item number 6C, City Secretary Marissa. The floor is yours.
So I just want to highlight one thing that's on my report is that we're going to have a blood drive in August 13th. That's sponsored by the city and the Garden Ridge Lions. We've been having quite a bit of them lately, but I don't know that people really know about them that often, so I just want to make sure that we get the word out for that. And then something that is not on my report that I wanted to just remind council of is we've been working on a website redesign actually for like exactly a year now. I looked back on our first kickoff meeting with our client success manager from Civic Plus, which I think we've had 5 different ones since then. But it was on Wednesday, July 14th, so almost a year ago. And since then, Kat and I have spent countless hours on the website, the functionality of it, the look of it, what we like on other websites, what we don't like on other websites, to get all of that to Civic Plus. Just last week, they gave me the first view, I guess you would say, of what our website's going to look like, and it was very exciting. Although I was in my office by myself without Kat there, I was still very excited. It looks great, so I'm excited for everyone to see it. We're looking at about anywhere from like 3 to 6 weeks out from launching it, so I feel like we're finally at the final stretch of that, and I think everyone's going to really like it. This is mainly to implement our new logo and branding on the website, and the timing just worked out really well that we get a free website redesign every 4 years, and it just happened that this was our time. So we were going to do it whether we did the logo and the branding anyway, so it just worked out that we can implement all of these new things, and it's very pretty. I'm excited. That's all I have.
Thanks, Marissa. It's awesome. You guys are going to love it, and it's all coming together, part of that plan. So thank you both. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, on to item number 6D. Chief, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is it working? Now it's working. Okay, so most everything is on the report. I do want to expand upon something that's coming up. It's been on everybody's mind with what happened down in Uvalde. So the mayor asked that we do an exercise. So I am coordinating an active shooter exercise. It will be a tabletop exercise done here at City Hall. It will involve all city employees. It will involve our police department, Comal County Sheriff's Department, Bracken Fire Department, Schertz EMS, and Comal Emergency Management. So we will run through, we have also invited the admin staff of Garden Ridge Elementary. We've been working with Comal ISD. I've been working with them a lot lately, and we've updated to make sure we have full access to all schools and security codes for all of their campuses in case we need to augment anybody else in the area. So we plan on having that on August the 17th. Everything's coming together, and we will continue that and see most of y'all there on that day, I hope.
Thanks, Chief. And so it's going to be the 17th of August. That's a Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right, Chief?
Correct.
So we'd love to have all of you there. I think it's important to exercise and go through this, because if it can happen in Uvalde, it can happen here and across Municipal Parkway, God forbid. And it's not, I have no doubt that our police department, the chief, Lieutenant Dan, and everybody involved would be right there in the door. It's what I want to go through the exercise for them to perfect that, but also our interagencies around Comal County and the city, the school, the staff, and the city council to find out what we don't know. What's our role? What does the city admin staff do shortly after that? How do we work the chain of command, the radios, all of those things, so that we have an idea of what we need to fix before the school year starts? And I want to thank Chief Ron Eberhart for embracing this and running with it. And Chief, thanks so much, because you really have, and you're the expert in the city and around the local community. So thanks for leading us with that. I greatly appreciate it.
We'll get it handled. There's a lot of philosophies and protocols that people don't understand that don't
Yes, sir.
fall in line with normal, routine, daily business. And that's the one thing that when you attend, you'll see that things happen slightly differently because of multi-agency involvement.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody have anything for the chief? Chief, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. While we're talking to the police department and about the police department, it's amazing to watch you guys do what you do. And we'll talk about this with the other departments as well here in just a little bit. But watching our police department interact with our citizens, our committees, our volunteers, for months to put together the biggest two events in the history of Garden Ridge in one day was amazing to watch you guys work. And it's all the little things that none of us ever see that you're overdoing, communicating with people, the extra security law enforcement officers that you hired for that evening here at the city for our 50th, and how that works seamlessly that none of us ever see, which is exactly what you want. And your department worked incessantly that whole weekend, that whole day, and for the last few months putting this all together. So I sleep well at night, and I speak on behalf of the council. We all sleep well at night, knowing that you're at the helm and your department, Lieutenant Dan, you're there for us.
Thank you.
And the things that we never see. So
Thank you. We have a good group of officers out here.
Yes, sir. We've got your back, man, because we know you have ours. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. Speaking of departments within Garden Ridge, Public Works Department. So, Stephen, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the month of June, the Public Works Department recorded 1.63 inches of rain for the month. We filled potholes on Bat Cave and Schoenthal. We had bricks engraved and installed around the flagpole at Paul Davis Park. We also installed a new dog waste station at Paul Davis Park. We prepped Paul Davis Park for the 4th of July event in the morning and afternoon, and in the evening, we prepped Municipal Complex for the Garden Ridge 50th anniversary event. We have 3 adult dogs in our care and 5 puppies still. The puppies still have about 4 more weeks before they can go get fixed and have their rabies shots. That's all I have to report for the Public Works portion of the report.
Okay, we're gonna talk more about the outstanding job you guys did for the prep and execution of our 4th of July parade and 50th anniversary party after your second part with water. So does anybody have anything for Stephen regarding Public Works?
Yes, I have a
Go.
question here. Under future projects, you have, City Hall needs a new chiller plant.
Correct.
How, is that what's the timing on that? How far we are from failure, or what the expected life, and how much, whatever, timing, money?
Well, right now, we got what we needed fixed to keep it running throughout the summer. We had trained technicians working on it. So we're doing pretty good right now, but it is overdue for replacement since we've got it installed in 2006. We've gotten quotes for it already, so we're just waiting to find out where we're going to get the money for it.
Be in the budget at least? Okay, good.
We're trying to.
Thanks, Jesse. Anybody else? Okay, Stephen, keep going with water.
The Utilities Department. We are currently in stage water restrictions, but began on July 5th. The Utility Department has been diligently monitoring the water usage throughout the service area by means of AMI system and by notifying residents about possible leaks in their system. We have also posted notification on the city signs and distributed handouts detailing stage 1 restrictions during the dumpster event. From the Edwards Aquifer, we pumped 33.06 acre feet. For the year, we've pumped 215.11 acre feet, which leaves us with 376.35 acre feet remaining after Edwards stage reductions are applied. We have pumped 110.23 acre feet from the Trinity, which brings our total of acre feet pumped for the year to 316.86 acre feet pumped for the year. All required monthly samples passed. Our water loss went down a lot, down to 1.1%. AMI notification draft customers is at 683. AMI customer portal profiles is 661. E-billing is 398. Total AMI notifications for June is 1,600. Within that 1,600, we recorded 298 abnormal usage, 231 continuous flow, 849 link info codes, 236 usage trends. The Utility Department also conducted leak detections in the Wood subdivision and reported no leaks found. This concludes the Utility Department's June report.
Council, anything for Stephen regarding utilities, water?
Yes.
Go.
Yeah. Go. Gonna go first? You go. Okay, on the Edwards aquifer reduction, so you had, how many acre feet have we lost this year to their?
Can I offer a suggestion? I was going to talk about that with Chairman Mueller when we get up and talk Water Commission for discussion, so we can dive into that.
Okay.
With Chairman Mueller here, and Stephen right there. Is that
Okay,
all
that'll
right?
work, that'll
That's a
work.
great idea, though.
Okay, other comments? Great to see the AMI portal users going up. We're at 39% of all the meters now, so that's a great number overall. Industry, statistically, still like to see it higher, but, and these notifications, you have any success stories with some of those, or do we just get the numbers?
We get notified of like burst and leaks and continuous leaks. Whenever we see them, we know if no one's responded, we'll actually go knock on the door and let them know. Most of the time, people are surprised that they have it, and they're pretty grateful that they caught it in time. So yeah, it's very successful.
Yeah, I actually have one too. My neighbor had just flown to France and texted me that morning, you're right, that he had gotten a continuous flow warning. He wanted me to go check out his house. And I found he had a hose outside with a nozzle, a gun nozzle type, that the water was still on. So it was dripping, but enough to give him a continuous flow reading. And so little things like that, you can be aware of. So the AMI system is working. It's helping us.
Yeah,
That's one thing I want to show, so.
The meters are very sensitive and they catch even the smallest leak, so
Yeah,
it's
they're
very
good things.
beneficial.
So we just need to, listen to them. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I know I address this fairly often, but, and this may tie into the water report, I'm thrilled to see the loss down to 1.1%. Because know you guys had nothing else on your mind in May and June. Do you know how that happened? I mean, can you pinpoint how you got so good?
We're catching the leaks early, and also a part of it is when you pump a lot of water more than normal, it also affects the percentage too, so that has a factor in it also.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, but that's one of the lowest numbers you've had in a long time. So, I mean, even just the quantity is low. So that's percentage I understand, but, so, yeah. I didn't write it down in my notes, but I did see it, so thank you for bringing it up. Okay.
Okay, thanks, council. All right, so we talked to Chief Eberhard about his police force and the department and the seamless job that they do every day and what they did for our 4th of July parade and our 50th anniversary party. Hand in hand goes Public Works. So you guys work hand in hand with the Parks Committee and the city administration and the council and all the departments months in advance of our annual 4th of July gathering, flag raising, and parade at Paul Davis Park. And that's hours and hours of coordination, work, beautification, cleanup, all extra things that you do in conjunction with the Parks Committee and admin to get the city ready to host our annual event. And Stephen summed it up in one sentence. Hey, yeah, we worked with the Parks Committee for the 4th of July event, did some stuff. Well, that stuff is months of work and coordination and detail things that we don't see. So we're practicing on Sunday morning, going through with the MC, Terry Dennis, who did a great job, Rod Chamberlain, who obviously is one of the co-chairs of the Parks Committee, put the whole thing together, and Rob Erickson sitting there going, okay, how's the timing going to work, all that stuff for the 4th of July gathering, flag raising, national anthem, Sophie Blunt, how's that going to work? And then another member of the Parks Committee came up to me and said, hey, this beautiful grass that's new by the flagpole and surrounding area, and the new flagpole and all the bricks out there, it probably needs to be mowed. And here we're down to almost 0 hour of D-Day trying to get everything done. And I went, oh, okay, let me pass that on and see if that's something that we could coordinate. It was already a done deal. I came back in 3 hours and it had already been mowed with everything going on. So just those little extra things, those attention to detail tidbits that are seamless and we don't see, you guys do. And oh, by the way, we kept everything else running Public Works-wise in the city. We keep the dogs healthy, the cats healthy, the puppies ready to go, among other things, and everybody has a supply of water. So what you guys do, Stephen, is amazing, and we thank you for it, and we couldn't obviously do it without you, because we wouldn't have water, and we wouldn't have the beautiful city that Garden Ridge is. So you pass that on behalf of all of us up here. Thank you. It was crazy. So we'll talk about some of the numbers a little bit later on, but I just want to make sure we pass on public thanks. And obviously, I skipped admin, secretary, and finance, but oh, by the way, during the day, all day on the 4th of July, Christine and Tina were here all day doing payroll, and oh, by the way, they were here all night helping with the 50th anniversary. And oh, by the way, they've been working incessantly for the last 2 months since they've been here on the job, brand new. And none of this happens without our city secretary and assistant secretary, Kat, and none of this happens without the general and Miss Nancy Kane. So thanks for, it might stick, Nancy. So thanks for what you all do. And not, last but certainly not least is the library and everything that you guys did and do for us every day. And the 50th was outstanding, and scavenger hunt, everything you put together. and I'll talk a little bit more when you are done. Ms. Linda, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay. Well, you could just do my report. That would be fine. We're staying nice and busy this summer, which we like. That's the way it's supposed to be. We did have a fabulous summer reading kickoff on June 10th. We had the Tame Trailblazers. It's like a museum. Oh, that was inside the community center. We had the big games outside along with that. All the games and the bouncy houses, those stacking cups were what some of the most popular things those kids did. One little boy could hardly stand it. He was just waiting for them to fall. He wanted to push them down, but they held him back. And then on your right there's some teenagers. Lee Jackson, who was here earlier, was helping, and both Bippert kiddos. They worked for hours serving snow cones and popcorn. They're just really great kids, and we really enjoyed that. And there's the Trailblazers. The thing about doing a combination like we did, we had 187 who actually went through that. They would only take 5 to 6 people at a time, and it took 30 minutes. So you can imagine the line, how long that line would have been if they'd have just had to wait in that broiling sun. So it was really good. We had the inside of the community center, and that's where they actually signed up for summer reading. As they came in, we would stamp their hand with a different colored stamp, and every so often it's like, okay, light green people, go line up, it's your turn. And so it really went smoothly. The Trailblazer men, Clifton, said, oh, this is so organized. Here's some who did have to wait a little while. But I thought this man was super organized himself, so kudos to him. And thanks again to the Talker people who made this possible, the Trailblazers. Some of you, well, I think you all know we did the time capsule last Friday. We had sort of a show and tell what we were going to put in the time capsule. And so Saturday morning, here are the wonderful master gardeners who showed up. There's Jan Martin's in the middle, Rick Cross on the left, and Linda Potts on the right. As I brought that time capsule out, Linda Potts took it, said, we'll take it from here, you just run along. She is just such a dynamo. On Friday, we were talking about, do you think we'll be around when we dig it up in 25 years? And I said, Linda, I know you will. You're probably still going to be picking up trash along the roads in 25 years. So she's just... well, they're all very special. Then our big event coming up is the Stuffed Animal Sleepover. It starts July 21st, that's a Thursday. The kiddos will drop off their bravest stuffed animal, and only the stuffed animals are going to spend the night. We're sort of nutty, but we are not crazy. We're not keeping kids overnight. So the next day at 6 o'clock, the kids will come in their pajamas for story time, a good night story time, and we give them a personalized book with the adventures that their stuffed animal had overnight. And we do sort of fun stuff with it. It's a popular thing, and we love it. We have fun.
Thanks, Linda. Whose idea was that? That's awesome.
We picked that up several years ago. Kelly Curtright was here. We got this idea from another library. So we said, we can do that.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Council, anything else for Miss Linda? Thanks for everything the library did and all the library volunteers, especially you and Wendy, for our annual celebration. You looked great in your parade float with the horse-drawn carriage. That was wonderful. And I heard a lot of great comments about that. And then that night, I kept hearing from kids running around, hey, we're heading back up to the kids area. So thanks for running that for the city, and wonderful job. And then the time capsule, that was your baby, Linda, and you did a great job with that. And thanks so much. We're just so lucky to have you and everybody on the library staff. Thanks. Okay, moving on to item number 7, city engineer project status reports, specifically FM 2252 TxDOT and any land development projects. Sam, it's good to see you.
Good seeing you, too.
Floor is yours, sir.
Good evening. I'll be very short this evening. For 2252, we have the plan, we have the comments from the utility coordinator was working through the comments. There's going to be some coordination with other utilities. We're in conflict in some areas, so we're working through those. So I would expect to maybe have the plan set back to the utility coordinator next couple of weeks. I'll be out all next week, out of town on business, so it'll probably be the following week we'll be able to get it back to the utility coordinator. As far as the development projects, we're starting to see some interest along 2252. City administrator and myself met with a couple of people over the last couple of weeks to kind of discuss the requirements, what they need to do for development and things of that nature. So we are starting to see more interest along 2252. So expect more development along there.
Yes, sir. Thanks. So before I pass it to council, just because Sam's briefs to us are usually relatively short, it means that he's doing great work specifically with Nancy behind the scenes every single day, either coming in here with meetings with potential developers or on the phone or getting ready to go for bid for our water line project for the intersection of FM 2252 and 3009. As a reminder, we have to have that done and or bid and done prior to TxDOT coming through and redoing that intersection, making it a 4-lane all the way through that intersection of 3009 and 2252. So we're hopefully going to be able to use some American Recovery Act funds with that. It used to be that that would probably cover it, but because of how expensive things have gotten now, we'll update you with that stuff in our budget meetings. And there's a lot of work going on every single day. So thanks, Sam. Council, anything else for Sam? Thank you, sir.
And one more thing.
Yes, sir.
For the 2252, I'll get the project manual and the specs. We can get those out pretty soon. I'm just waiting to make sure we get all the comments addressed because it may change the quantities.
You bet.
And all that falls into that project manual. So that's why I haven't sent it just yet.
You bet. I know what you're doing. So thanks so much. Appreciate it. Okay, that concludes item number 7. On to item number 8, City Commission and Committee reports, recommendations, possible actions. 8A is Planning and Zoning Commission. The commission did not meet in June, so there's no update at this time. So we'll move on to 8B, Quarry Commission. And Chairman Baruki, if you want to come up. Good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. And it looks like the mic is turned off, so you'll need to turn that on. The button, there you go. One more time. There you go. Floor is yours, sir. Good job.
Okay. We met on Monday for our July meeting, and the report was relatively simple. We had very little in terms of concerns about the blasting. We got the report of the blasting process for the last 2 months, months of May and June. And in May and June, there were 19 blasts in each of those months, which is a considerably large amount or number of blasts for a month. But the blasts were all under the readings for peak particle velocity and air overpressure were under the limits for the Ordinance 34. But there was one blast in June where the air overpressure was 126, which is a little bit area of concern for us in our history. So that was something we addressed. There was just one citizen impact report or complaint from the citizenry, and that was from a gentleman who actually is one of the commissioners who has been historically putting in a report whenever he feels a blast, whether it's really large or not. It's just for him to keep a record of that. So it was a relatively quiet 2 months that we had for the information. We agreed to keep the monitors, the recording monitors, at their current locations, and Then we moved into an item of business that we had suggested first come up about in our January meeting, where one of the commissioners said, have we ever taken a look longitudinally over all of these blasts and the record of the effects of these blasts over a period of time? And so in March, and we had a meeting, we discussed a sample of doing that. And then over the last 2 months, I took a look at all of the blasts since 2016 through 6 months of 2022, and laid it all out with the blast records. And I wanted to just present those data to you tonight, because you'll see some changes, and you can draw perhaps some conclusions about how we're going in that. But let me start by saying, showing okay, if you'll see, there's the blasting effects measured in the Ordinance 34 limits. I just put that out, just a little bit of an explanation. Some of you have been here quite a while. You're probably sometimes fairly familiar with what we're talking about. But I just wanted to, for newer members, to explain just briefly how what the parameters are of what we're measuring. What we measure when a blast goes off is, number one, the air overpressure, or the compression of the airwaves. And I take it back to, do you remember ever seeing, when you're growing up, the movies of a atomic blast, and then the compression wave, coming out, destroying houses, and that's what we're measuring. It's not anything close to that, but it's the air pressure from a blast that goes out and to a distance and can cause vibrations. It may cause walls to vibrate. And according to our ordinance, the measurement, there's a limit, it's measured in decibels, of 134 is the ordinance limit. Now, what we have, as I've got there, we also have been looking over, just historically from our knowledge, that we've determined that measures of 120, perhaps to 124 decibels, that's of some concern. And 125 decibels or greater, that's of larger concern. We're likely to maybe get some feedback from the community when it's that. So those are kind of arbitrary but historically sound levels that we're looking at. The second thing we measure is called peak particle velocity, and that's a measure of the intensity of not the air, but the ground vibration as the shock waves go through the ground. And specifically, it says the motion of the ground particles as they're excited by the wave energy. This is where I want to avoid, we're not going to get into physics here, but I just will say there's a third thing called frequency. And the ground vibration waves, the limits, are affected by frequency, which is how many waves of vibration go through per second, okay? And so they affect each other. You have a higher speed of velocity, but if the frequency or ground vibration is slower and lower, it can have perhaps a larger effect. Whereas if the frequency is, the waves are shorter and faster, then it doesn't perhaps cause as much damage. It's like, the only thing I can compare that frequency to is when you're sitting in traffic and the kid's car next to you with his boom, go ba-boom, ba-boom. That's the slow, big frequency waves, that you can feel actually when you're sitting in your car. Okay, so that's the things that affect. But I will say then that the peak particle velocity, what we determined over time is the variable limit dependent upon associated frequency. If it's 3.0 to 3.5 ppv, it's of some concern. And if it's above 3.5, it's of greater concern, and we'll discuss it, usually individually at our meetings when that happens. Okay, that's as much as I want to get into the weeds on that, but I hope that you get some idea of those numbers. All right, So what I'd like to take a look at is, I'm going to first go through just very briefly the years, 2016 through 2022. And if you'll show up, okay. If Marissa, gotcha, okay, her cat, 2016, okay. Can you pick it up so I can see the bottom? Okay, what you'll see there is on the left column, I've recorded the number of blasts per month, each month, and then the total number of 145 blasts in 2016. And those are, next column is the highest blasting level of peak particle velocity for each of those, great, thank you for the adjustment, for each of those months, all right? And what you see is highlighted in yellow is above 3.0 to 3.5. So there's the blast in that month out of, for instance, in September, out of 11 blasts, there was one blast at 3.325, which is, we had one of concern then. And then in August, we had a blast of 0.395. That's quite concerning, you know, and was likely that perhaps people will feel that more. So the point is we had 3 blasts of concern out of the 145 in 2016 peak particle velocity, and we had 1 blast where the air overpressure, that's the column third from the right, it was 121.9, was of some concern, but not great concern. Okay, so what we see is, you see visually that there was some blast of concern, and we took a number of point for peak particle velocity of anything greater than 0.20 as kind of a baseline, and said, okay, how many blasts throughout all of those months where was there a blast over 0.20? And that was picked because 0.20 is relatively moderate, and you know, and it gives you a greater idea of the numbers. So what we had was, over the entire year, we had only 27 blasts where the measure exceeded 0.20. And so that's 18.6% of the blasts in that year were above that baseline middle or moderate level. All right, and well, if we go to 2017 there, this is where you show the comparison. And the reason I want to show each year primarily is the color coding. It's an easy visual way to look. In 2017, we had a more exciting year. As you can see, there are 4 blasts, 4 months in which we had a blast over 0.3 of some concern, and 3 blasts over 0.35, and 1 up in October, that was a real hummer, 0.433. And then the same thing, we had an exciting month of where the air overpressure was also relatively, a number that were relatively of some concern, where we had 4 that the air overpressure was above 120 and 1 at 125 or above. So compared to 2016, 2017 was a very exciting, concerning month. And if you go to 2018, okay, we still had a little less, but we still had a number of PPVs, 3 of some concern, and air overpressure, 2 of fairly great concern, 1 up at 130, which is approaching the maximum level a little more. So we see 2016, 2017, 2018, fairly colorful with concerning blasts, at least 1 in some of those months. Go to 2019, well, we only had 1 blast of any concern, but that in itself was a highly concerning blast in May, 393. But if you look at the PPV over every month, the number over the moderate level of 0.20 in that third column, there were only 6 total blasts over that moderate level. So that was there, that month, the blasts were pretty minimal in terms of their impact on PPV, and the same thing for the air overpressure. All right, and you go to 220, and no PPV, there were only 5 blasts out of 140, which is 3.6%, where it was even over 0.20, that moderate level, and no blasts of concern at all in any of the months above, approaching concern of 0.3. Go to 2021, nothing of any concern. 6 blasts, again, above the 0.2 level, and only 5 air overpressure that recordings above 115, which again is moderate. All right, so 2020, 2021, and then look at 2022. We've only had 6 months so far. We've already had 87 blasts, okay? And of those 87 blasts, we've only had 2, nothing of any concern, approaching anywhere near 0.30, and only 2 above that moderate level of 0.20. And we had only 5 blasts where the air overpressure was above 0.115, but we did have 1 blast at 126, which was of decent, great concern. Okay, so if you go to you've seen visually what this is the summary page then, all right? And just to be able to show you that if you look at the percentage of blasts with a pre-PV reading above 2.0, in 2016 it was 18.6%, 17.3% in 2017, went down to 4.7% in 2018, 4% 19, 3.6, 5.2 in 2020, and so far this year, 2.3%. And it's the same thing with the air overpressure, with 16, 17, 18, fairly significant numbers, and then it's gone way down in the last 3 years. The point is, in the last 3 years, the blasting impact recorded data has come way down and is very slight compared to what we had in those earlier years. So as we deal with the issues that you're going to deal with, on the commission, we thought things aren't great. You're always going to have some complaints, but things have been getting better over the last 5 to 7 years, and we feel like perhaps in our relationship with the quarry and especially the blasting company that they hired to do that we got their attention and they're working with us, and we feel kind of gratified that things are sort of looking good. So that's my report.
Thank you so much. That was a great report. Anybody have anything for Chairman Baruki? He's already walking away, though. Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
That was great. Thank you so much. Okay, on to item number 8C, Water Commission. Chairman Mueller. All right, a couple things to do with the Water Commission. The first part is receive a recommendation regarding the leak adjustment process, and Chairman Mueller is going to talk to us about that, and then afterwards we'll discuss and take possible action on that. So that's the first order of business. So the floor is yours. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Excuse me. You'll see tonight on page 76 of your packet, you have some recommendation for changes to Ordinance 54, paragraph 16.07C. If you want to look at the original, that's on page 27 of the ordinance that is in there, or on the website. So these changes represent the culmination of several months of study that we have done and multiple reviews. We started this whole process off by looking at a lot of the neighboring cities and what they do on their leak adjustment processes. There's also a pretty comprehensive study that was done by the state of Texas. It's a few years old, but we certainly looked through that, and that rolled up all the processes across the entire state. and showed what was included, not included, and everything. We took that under advisement. We looked at that, and we made some proposals. The subcommittee made some proposals. We talked about that, and what you see in front of you is sort of the culmination and the consensus of all our discussions that we've had over multiple meetings. As we said, that in your packet, you'll notice it's a little bit reorganized from what the previous ordinance said. As you look at it, a lot of it is clarifying language, and it's very, my opinion, it's very little changes, and it just sort of clarifies the verbiage that was in there and standardizes it across some of the other things that we read. Until you get to about paragraph 6. Then when you see paragraph 6 and 7, that puts some, what I call some left and right limits on what is approved and what things you need for your leak adjustments. We broke that out to make it a little bit more simpler. And then that paragraph 8 sort of codifies the calculations, and that's representative of sort of the processes that we've been having and a lot of things that frankly, some ideas that we took from other cities that don't have the benefit of the AMI system that we have. Now, I will say that we don't expect those procedures in paragraph 8 to be used necessarily very often. We would hope that we get all that information from the AMI system, but better to have it in code than to not have it. So that's my overall summary. So back to you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Council, you know from your packet that Jesse Valdez has put together some thoughts on that. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. And I was, going back, I was part of the Water Commission when a lot of this work was done, that Chairman Mueller mentioned, looking at other cities, looking at that. And I went back to my old packet. I pulled out of the file cabinet. And so pull that, and this is what that is. This was in that packet that was discussed by the subcommittee and included and obviously got taken out by the commission. So I'd like to recommend that we maybe consider putting some of this back in. And so the items I have on the list here is really, so if we go back to, well, yeah, that right there. So number 7 here had 3 items already there. You see, basically number 1 says the customer didn't shut off the water flow or repair the leak in a timely manner. Number I2, or Roman number 2, it was violation of Ordinance 54, plumbing code adopted. And the major thing there is that, for example, the Ordinance 54 requires you to have a pressure reducing valve in your line. We have some residents that probably over 100 PSI just based on elevation, right, Stephen? I mean, I know just it's the difference between your property and the tower. Okay, that's where you get your pressure based on that. So it depends on where you are in the elevation. So we have some high ones, and that's a requirement we have in our ordinance. So if you don't have that in there, that's and we found out one of the commissioners doesn't have one, and so he's going to have to put one in down your street, Chief. So. Anyway, and then the third one is the leak was not, the leak still exists, okay? So I want to add more to that. Looking at, so my recommendations, the first one here, number 4, is irrigation systems, and that includes programming errors, malfunction of the programmer, any leaks. Again, we don't require citizens to have irrigation systems. They put that in, but we expect them to be maintained. Just like, your car. There's certain things that the manufacturer requires you to maintain, otherwise the warranty is voided. So same thing here. We expect, I expect, and I maintain my system, and actually found a programming error on mine one time that I didn't do it intentionally, but I found it based on laptop readings that I got because I was having excessive water. And so that does happen. And then I have other ones here, number 5, water loss due to water softeners. Water softeners, you don't know when you have a leak. It's behind the wall. It goes in the drain. You don't see it. Now with the AMI system and you get your records, you can't see that. Overfilling the pools with, we've had quite a few leak requests based on automatic fillers, And I always recommend anybody putting a new one in not to put automatic filler. Fill it with your hose manually, And, again, I found these on some of the other cities that I got from actually Chairman Mueller and his records that when he did his research. landscaping, water features, water fountain, anything you have in your yard that has, a pond with the spray or whatever, things like that backflow. Then I included, on number 6, backflow devices, failure of that, and also pressure reducing valve, that you have a failure of pressure reducing valve that causes overpressure in your system, And then the other one I pulled up is anything under construction. We wouldn't include anything under construction. I don't think we've had any in the past. But I think the AMI system is really helping people with this, because we've had really a turn down in leak request. Stephen, I'm going to go back to you now. What kind of leak, requests have you gotten, and what the causes for them, mainly?
Mainly, it's been irrigation, either a
Irrigation.
router malfunctioned, or somebody didn't program it right, or they just forgot about how often their irrigation comes on, and surprised whenever they get the bill. Every once in a while, I'll get an inline leak adjustment, or the line just blew, and it was just a cut and dry case.
Right.
We have sometimes the meters have a malfunction, but that's few and far between. So whenever we get one of those and it's our cause, we
If the meter malfunction, it'd be our responsibility.
yes.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's mainly sprinkler, and then just others are just appliance type.
So, the other items I have on the bottom are just extra things I put on, but these are the ones I mainly want to thank. If you looked at the other ones and you look at it, we have one city that only, or at least one, or maybe no more, correct me if I'm wrong, but that only provides a water loss adjustment to the service line that's from the water meter to the house, and that's it. Anything else is excluded. And that's if the line is less than 500 feet on top of that. So, but that's the extreme, okay? I don't know if we want to go there far, but anyway, I just wanted council to consider this. These are thoughts that we had talked about before when I was on the commission, and I really want to see some of these, so I just turn it back to council and get y'all's input on what y'all think. So back to you, Mayor.
Thanks, Jesse. Great work. Council, questions for Jesse? No? So just to clarify, are you looking to add the first four into the changes from the Water Commission?
Any portion of thereof.
Okay.
Yeah, so, we can scratch some of those out, we can modify whatever, but, it's whatever council, if I would make the recommendation right now, that's what I would do, but I would be interested in input.
Has this been run by the Water Commission?
Well, they ran it through originally, and
Yeah.
they talked about it at some of the Water Commission meetings.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Chairman?
So we did discuss these things, and we went through these. And honestly, when we looked at a lot of these, particularly when we talk about the lawn irrigation systems, as Stephen said, that's probably the vast majority of the adjustments that we make. And what we didn't want to do, essentially, after talking about it multiple times, we didn't want to restrict it too much on what we were doing and just have a policy that really wouldn't have any benefit on where that was. To Council Member Valdez's point, a lot of these things, the ones that you do see up here, those we didn't make those up. Obviously, we went through and we found these that were kind of representative of other cities that were out there, but we determined that probably wasn't the best thing. The consensus was in the commission that perhaps that'd be a little bit restrictive for us on the first blush.
Jesse, any comments to that? Okay. So, not to delay this, and I like your inputs here, but I think as I look at this, what I'd like to do with your inputs is to take them back to the Water Commission and rediscuss them in the upcoming meeting, and then come back to us with what, if any adjusted language you want to have in this, and then see what happens with the Water Commission and how they discuss it, and bring it to council, and then rediscuss come August. Would you be okay with that, Jesse? They're great inputs, but I'd like to get all the commissioners in on it one more time.
Absolutely.
Would
We'll
that
go
work?
through and discuss all four of those and come back with you for
Okay.
what we think about that.
Thank you. Again, I'm not trying to delay the process because I don't like to do that, but I just want to make sure that we have everybody's input for the
Absolutely.
collective vision. Council, anything else for Jesse or Chairman Mueller regarding this? Okay,
I
go
have
ahead,
a
please.
question. When you, just for my clarification, you said you thought they would be more restrictive on us. I'm not real sure what you meant.
So from what our policy currently is to what adopting some of these measures would be, we thought that would be a pretty large change pretty quickly and would essentially eliminate the vast majority of adjustments that we have in the city.
It would eliminate, in your opinion, it could eliminate most of the adjustments. In other words, it would.
It
be-
absolutely would, ma'am. Yes, that's what Stephen was mentioning, that the vast majority of ours are related to lawn irrigation systems.
Right.
Specifically.
Okay, I think I get it. Thank you.
Oh,
I say that right, Stephen?
yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, I will add that the AMI system is working. Because I went back and looked at the data, I wasn't going to cover this, but anyway, when we first started doing leak adjustments in May 2019 to May 2020, I don't have the number of leak adjustments that were actually approved, but it was close to 2 million gallons in leaks, over $22,000 in credits. Since July 1st of 2021, so in the last year, total leak adjustments, $1,100. Big difference due to AMI. Some of these are very minor, less than $50. But unfortunately, whether it's $50 or $500, it takes a lot of time on the water utility departments to do. So it's a big impact on labor. And that's probably one of my bigger reasons to do this. You know, the impact that it has on the department, you know.
You bet, I agree.
Yeah, so something to think about when we're processing this, so.
Thank you very much. Great work, Jesse, thanks. Okay, your monthly update.
I accidentally switched off my notes, so I'm going to go ahead and wing this part. For our monthly update, first of all, we had Commissioner Reynolds and Dr. Carmichael, who went to the market days in June, set up a booth there. They had a bunch of materials with them that they talked to several of the people that were out there. It was pretty hot out there that day, if y'all remember, but there still was a pretty good turnout, and they got to talk to a large amount of people. And they thought it was it was a good thing to do, and that we want to do it again when it's not 100 degrees out. So we were planning to do that again in the fall. I would like to note that Commissioner Reynolds and Dr. Carmichael spent the entire time out there. They did it all. They did great. They also went over to the San Antonio Parks Department and got a nice little terrain board that showed sort of the watershed that's around here and used that to demonstrate what pollution can do to the water and hand out some flyers in the AMI system. Anyway, from our perspective, it was a great way to reach out to the community and get some of the word out on some of these things. So we planned on doing that again. Also, we talked about the current temperatures and frankly, the severe drought that we're in right now. And then we had some follow-on discussions with the mayor and city staff, and that's why you see us going into stage one. I think it's very important for us to continue looking at that and just being good stewards of the water that's out here, because no signs of this abating anytime soon. So thank you for your consideration on that. And we did talk about some things perhaps that we should look at for the commercial rates and long-term supply along those same lines that we want to go ahead and keep looking at. And we'll get, as we work that through the subcommittee and the commission, you'll probably be hearing more about that in the coming months. Finally, I actually forgot, maybe it was Councilmember Valdez, I don't remember, bringing up the water loss rates from the water department there. Stephen being a little bit modest, just like he was for the 4th of July, right? He really cut those numbers down. You see they're ranging between 1,500 and 2,000 gallons before. Now it's cut down to around 500,000 maybe. I don't remember the numbers on there, but a significant reduction, and that's because of actually the work the water department is doing. They're actively going out, finding these, they're investigating the AMI alerts and everything, and they're just doing a great job and being good stewards of our resources that are out there. And our next meeting is next week on Tuesday, July 19th. And that is it for our report, unless you have any additional questions.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about going into stage 1 water demand reduction measures from Ordinance 61, and where that decision came from. So, and kudos to Stephen doing a great job of, just like Chairman Mueller said, watching the numbers, watching the trend data, and getting that data to Nancy and myself and the Water Commission to go, hey, here are some recommendations, and we probably need to enact Ordinance 61 to reduce our demand on the water system from the city. We take out of 2 aquifers, we know this, right? We take out of the Edwards Aquifer, which is on top, and then wells 9 and 10, we take out of the Trinity Aquifer, which is on the bottom. Edwards Aquifer is much more regulated, if you will, with who can take out of it and how much you can take out of it. The Trinity, a little bit less so. Edwards Aquifer Authority, the EAA, just prior to last month's meeting, came to Stephen and said, we are taking away 50 acre feet of your allocation out of the Edwards Aquifer, which is a lot. So on a typical day, we'll take out 1 or 2 acre feet on a high demand day out of the Edwards for the city of Garden Ridge. To take away 50 acre feet, you're taking away possibly 25 days worth of water allocation out of the Edwards Aquifer for our water department and the city of Garden Ridge. That's a lot. Stephen came back and said, hey, what would it take to get 50 acre feet back? And they said 10 inches of rain, and every time you look at the forecast, that's not in the forecast. Hopefully someday it is again. But we are in an extreme, I think we call it an exceptional drought now for this area. So with that and SAWS in stage 2 at the time, water restrictions, it was time for us to enact stage 1 of our water restrictions, which are less, according to Ordinance 61, just due to our ability to pull out of both aquifers. And Stephen has done a great job going into stage 1 to manage what we pull out of the Edwards, what we pull out of the Trinity, to limit when we can what we pull out of the Edwards Aquifer, so that we, it's kind of it's a balancing game, right, Jim? Because we have so much allocation that we pull out of and we pay for with the Edwards Aquifer Authority to pull out of water. If we don't pull out our yearly allocation, that's money we leave on the table with our water department, and we take a loss with that. So Stephen has to manage between how much do we take out so that we have plenty left over for the later months, and then how much do we need to pull out of the Trinity to equal everything up. So it's a huge balancing game that Stephen plays with our allocation and with how much we pull out. So we are, based on his recommendation, last Tuesday on the 5th of July, we went into stage 1, and that is the biggest thing for the residents of Garden Ridge and customers of our water department. That's mainly irrigation. So you can only water once a week depending on what number your address ends in, and then that's it. You can always hand water anything in your yard or your garden with a hose or a bucket, but we really limit how much we take out just based on irrigation. And Stephen and I and Nancy and soon to be Chairman Mueller and Jesse, I'm gonna get you in on these daily reports so that we are all tracking our trends. And I think it's still a little bit early, Stephen, as you and I talk about this daily, to see if that trend is down in stage 1. It's not going down quite as much as I'd like it to, but we're going to keep monitoring that. So in stage 1 will remain in effect until we either rescind it because we're doing great with water, or we have to enter stage 2, which that looks more and more likely as we look at the forecast. So hopefully that's an education for those that would like it out in, online in the audience. And then obviously you guys already know that. Just wanted to put some more, make sure that education's out there. So Jim, anything else to add with that?
No, sir.
Stephen? No. Jesse?
Well, I know I've talked about other things as far as how well we communicate. I know we communicate this through the AMI system. I got an alert through there about going to water restrictions. You know, seen on the social media, City of Garden Ridge Facebook page, on the alerts. You know, I just wonder if we missed anybody as far as communicating this out. I know it was in the water bill too, so, but I know it could be missed, you know, if you're not reading the grapevine. So looking at, you know, anybody out there we might have missed, and other ways to be sure people communicate this to.
So the first place it went out was our emergency alert system, right?
Right, it went out there,
So everybody, and that was to everybody, whether you had signed up with an account or not, correct?
Correct. We sent it
Oh,
out
did it?
as an emergency alert and not a general notification.
So that goes out?
It went out to everybody that was
I
imported
wasn't aware,
into the
okay, I
system.
wasn't aware of that. Thank you for that.
That was
Okay,
the
great.
first thing we did, and then obviously you saw social media, the sign, that's in the water bill, so.
It was just sign up for alerts, no.
But we're gonna
Emergency, yeah.
continue that process, so especially if we don't see the trend that we need to see, so that we can continue to have a viable supply of water for everybody, right? Okay, thanks, great point. Thank you so much. Okay, on to item number 8D, Wildlife Management Advisory Commission. They did not meet in June, so there's no update at this time, which leads us to 8E, Parks Committee. And Nancy, did Rod send you something for you to read?
No, it's going to be Dr. Miller
Oh, Dr.
reporting.
Miller. One of the 3 co-chairs for the Parks Committee. Tri-chair. Sir, the floor is yours. There you go.
Evening, council. Thanks for having me. Rod left me a little handout to talk about things that we had at the Parks Committee. Fortunately or unfortunately, as the case may be, you guys have discussed pretty much everything he had on his list in terms of the people that contributed to the 4th of July event. You already talked about the volunteer hours. We had a meeting this morning, and we had start to plan for the future being the Christmas tree lighting. Rod's out of town. You also talked about the contributions of Public Works without which we couldn't have done it. I mean, there's just so much that goes on during the course of the year, and especially in the spring when we start getting really ready for the 4th of July. Everything that he had on his list was pretty much covered, except it would not happen, and unless I was nodding out and had a little nap back there, except there was no mention of the sponsors and contributors to the event, without which we couldn't do it. The Lions Club goes without saying. They're shoulder to shoulder with us, with every endeavor we have with the Parks Committee and other things in the city. The GRCP AAA, again, I mean, those are our volunteers. That's where we get our volunteers. We don't have many citizen volunteers. I've been impressed over the years that we have meetings, like 6 or 7 of us, and I say, there's no way possible we're going to put on an event without more human resources. But then when the event starts, people come out of the woodwork, and we have people, oh, is there anything I can do to help? And I hate to rely on that every year, but that's where we are, and it's worked for the last 5 years at least. Some of the main sponsors and contributors I want to get into the record. Audie North Park, I mean, we almost take them for granted, unfortunately, to contribute monies and other resources to anything the city does. The Lions Club I already mentioned. The Garden Ridge Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association. Danny Correa Realty Group. I mean, what would that event be without ice cream every year? I mean, you know, people say, where's the ice cream? Where's the ice cream? Weber Auto Works, who provides lemonade and other libation every year, and people look forward to that. Garden Ridge Assembly. And this year, the program went very, very smoothly because of the Master Ceremonies, Terry Dennis. The invocation was done by Pastor Robert Denard. And of course, our own Mayor Rob Erickson was the welcoming message. I think I found out this morning that the PA system was outsourced this year, and I think it worked very well. It's just one of the biggest complaints we have every year is the PA system, and it was money well spent, I think. The food and refreshments, as I mentioned, the ice cream we have, the GRCPAA with the hamburgers and hot dogs. Everybody looks forward to that. The Weber Auto Works and the lemonade, other libation, the ice cream. We tried something for the Parks Committee. We had some special dessert, which were mini cupcakes, and I don't think we'll be doing that again. It was a little hot for the cupcakes, and the icing had a little difficulty with the weather. Lions Club with the popcorn, and the Garden Ridge Assembly of God with water. Overall, it was a very, very good event, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. Again, we're starting to plan for the Christmas tree lighting. If I can keep Linda Potts and Rod under control, we'll be all right. I consider myself the calming influence because they're running around. And I kind of sit back and watch them and say, you know, anybody says anything, I said, you ever heard the story of the hare and the tortoise? I'm the tortoise, okay? I'm going to sit back and do it slow. So do you have any questions, Mayor or Council?
I have a few accolades and praises, but I'll let the council go first. No?
Just job well done as always. Thank you.
Outstanding. Okay.
Walmart was also a sponsor.
Who?
Walmart.
Didn't have it written down there, but you're absolutely right. That was the watermelon.
That's okay. The watermelon. They've sponsored the watermelons for
Yeah, and they've
several
done that
years.
for the last 3 years. I don't know how I forgot that. Yeah.
Okay.
None of that happens, Dr. Miller, without the 3 tri-chairs of the Parks Committee and all the volunteers with the Parks Committee and all the volunteers with the Lions Club, the Garden Ridge Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, and all of our volunteers that just come out of the woodwork to help out. And talking to one of our reporters for the Herald Zeitung at the time capsule ceremony last Friday, what we talked about is that the volunteerism of Garden Ridge is the life force of Garden Ridge. So none of this happens. I mean, with a little over 30 full-time employees and associated departments and staff, we rely so heavily upon all of you to make that work, and all of you up here, because you're all volunteers. So we could not do that without our volunteers. And then also, as you said, Dr. Miller, so graciously, we couldn't do it without our sponsors. So, and please know to our sponsors out there and to our volunteers, we don't take anybody for granted. We couldn't do it without all of you. So this year, as I looked out right before the parade, and then as we came back from the parade and everybody was off the floats and the horse-drawn carriage and back in the park, I looked out, and it was the most I remember ever seeing out there. And it was more, in my opinion, than even the homecoming parade of last year, September 26th, give or take. It was packed. And I saw so many kids out there. And that's your hard work, the fruits of your labor and your endeavors. So that was the first record that we set that day as a city of Garden Ridge with our single largest event ever. I'd say there was over probably 700, 750, Chief-ish. Remember, the mayor rounds up, right? So, okay, thanks. So nearly 800 people at, that's okay, well, it's just under 1,000. So, which is just, it's crazy. So that was just great work. Please pass that on to Rod and Linda if you can catch them, and keep them healthy. And we're looking forward to your event in December. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir. Okay, that ends off item number 8. On to item number 9, approvals and authorizations. And the following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. 9A, resolution number 48907-2022, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, dissolving the Quarry Commission and repealing resolution number 10409-2002 that established the Quarry Commission. Okay, so we have talked about this for within the staff for the better part of 10 months. We brought this to your attention through executive session a few months ago, talking about it to get your opinion of this process. And what we, to talk about it now and remind all of you and talk about it with our audience and everyone else out online. The Quarry Commission was created by resolution back in September of 2002, so 20 years ago, out of necessity. We didn't have back then the relationship that we currently have now with Hanson Quarry. And that includes corporate down to plant managers here and Vibratech, who runs the day-to-day operations of the blasting. We didn't have that relationship back then, and so out of necessity, the city council back in the day, John McCaw was brand new on the council. Nancy was a brand new administrator, correct? Even Lieutenant Dan wasn't here yet, or was he? He wasn't quite here yet. So we created, out of necessity and need, the Quarry Commission. And they've done yeoman's work, superb, outstanding work over the years to help educate the citizens of Garden Ridge, the council, the staff, the quarry on how to interact and be good stewards of the land that we share in Garden Ridge. We have a just under $1 billion a year operation going on right behind us. That's very important because all of our foundations probably came out from rock from this quarry. A very good chance. So but we need to have a good relationship, and they need to be good stewards and make sure that we're not over blasting. And not to summarize what Jerry Barucki put together, but that was outstanding. Over the years, that relationship has improved, and I think it's the best that I remember from my time on council from 2017 to 2019, and certainly in the last year or so that I've been up here in the center of the dais. We have an outstanding relationship, both corporate level and with the plant managers. Everything that the Quarry Commission does once a month and now once every 2 months when they get together, we rather than meeting every month, there wasn't a necessity for that, so we went to once every 2 months. Everything that they do is extremely important, but we also have a backup system that we already do with through the city. All the blasts are tracked through the Secretary's office. The Vibratech will call, the quarry will call here before there's a blast. We track it with the numbers, and then we present those numbers to the Quarry Commission to make sure everything is good to go for those 2 months that they're going to look at. And on top of that, there are a lot of things that happen day-to-day and during the week and during the month to put together a commission meeting. So you have an agenda that has to be published on time and correctly in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. You have minutes that have to be written and then QC'd and then distributed for the previous month's meeting or 2 months' meeting and the minutes for that meeting. You have the communication that has to happen and all the things that none of us ever really notice because it happens behind the scenes from what Marissa and Kat are doing. And it's a lot of time that it takes. So we have some redundancy built into the system between the actions of the wonderful actions of the Corey Commission and what the city already does. So when we discussed this before, we were all unanimous and amicable in our decision to pursue this. And what you said to do was, hey, Rob, why don't you go talk to the Corey Commission and see what they have to say. So we met, myself and Nancy and Chairman Baruki. When did we meet? Was it last fall? Last November? I think last November or so. December maybe. And discussed it with you all first to see what you, basically the discussion we just had, to see what you thought about it. And if you were amicable with it, to take that to the Corey Commission in closed session, in executive session during the next meeting to talk about it there, and had that same discussion. And as hard as it can be to say, hey, maybe it's time to dissolve the commission, everybody on the commission said there are some valid points to that, and perhaps it is time, but with some caveats. And those caveats we took back to you and added those to Ordinance 210, because we didn't have a mechanism to dissolve a commission and or to stand down a commission. Dissolve was the legal terms that we came up with, right, Cynthia, is the best fit. So in Ordinance 210, when we amended that, in 210 paragraph J, we talked about, and we've added dissolution here. So I'm going to read it for everybody. The City Council will periodically review boards/commissions for continued operations. If the City Council determines that a commission has completed its charge, the City Council may dissolve the commission. And then we go on to say, City Council will issue notice of dissolution to the chair of the board/commission, and the notice will provide for a reasonable wind-down period. During the wind-down period, the board/commission will work with city staff to ensure the completion of board/commission business, including completion of meeting minutes, proper archival of commission records with the city secretary, and submission of a closeout report to the City Council. For those of us from the Air Force, that would be an after-action binder or a continuity book. So to make sure that all of that information and knowledge, especially what you saw Chairman Baruki give to us tonight, is saved and used if we need it. We also go on to say in the next paragraph that after a dissolution of a commission, we do reserve the right as a city and as a council to go, hey, we need some help. So we would call upon Janelle or Jerry Baruki to come back and bring that expertise back to the city and the council to help us out with some issues that we need their expertise on and their experience, and that we as a council or as a city staff don't have time to put together. So what we're doing here, if you vote this way, is to dissolve the Corey Commission with a wind-down period of 2 months, and it would end with their meeting in September and close out everything at the end of the fiscal year, which would bring it to a 20-year commission to the month. And then have, if you will, certain members on retainer to come help us out. Another thing this does is it frees up all that time for our city secretary and her staff to keep the city running with the day-to-day and month-to-month operations that are already going on, and possibly for efficiency, takes away some redundancy that at this time we don't need. I'm not saying we won't in the future, because things change. And if we need to in the future, depending on your vote, we could have another resolution standing up a Quarry Commission, if that's something that we needed to do. So this would be, our action tonight would be dissolving the Quarry Commission, and the wind down period to get everything done would be September of 2022, and a closeout date of the 30th of September, the end of the fiscal year. And it's a resolution because the Quarry Commission was created with a resolution and not an ordinance. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. So before I give it to council, Marissa, did I miss anything?
The only thing I would want to add is that we will still maintain the monthly blasting reports, all of the typical documents that we post on our website that have to do with blasting. We'll still continue to do that, just in case anybody was wondering.
That's a really good point. So everything that we monitor right now, as I look at the website and just go on it, it'll be seamless. I won't notice any difference whether there's a Quarry Commission or not.
Correct, including citizen blast impact reports. People can still submit those. They'll
Exactly.
still go through the same process, and everything will be seamless.
It's all seamless, so we can still express our concerns, and the Quarry, or the Hanson is going to come to us when we complain and talk to us about it, and they're very, very good about doing that. Thank you. Kat, anything else to add with that? Nancy? Okay. Jerry, I know you're out there, but we're talking about this. Anything else you'd like to add?
Summarization of the data and looking at it, I think that's fine. And I'll miss the phone calls from neighbors. But the other thing I might say is how much we all, I've been on 8 years, I know, but 10 at least years. Anyway, Marissa and especially Kat, for all your work whenever we need to get some data.
Yeah.
Lauded the work of some of the other areas. Those folks have made us easier.
Yes, sir. So I should have had you come up here, but I'll summarize for everybody out there what Chairman Baruki just said, that through discussion over the months that we've been talking about this, a head nod that, yep, this is probably a good way to go, with the caveat that we can gin up if we need to again, or just seek out your help. And also praising Marissa and Kat for their great work with the city and working with the Quarry Commission and the quarry itself. So thanks for that. Okay, council, with everything that we've just talked about, I will open it up. I'm going to go left this time. So, Kay, anything to add?
As a matter of fact, thank you. I just want to say I'm proud of the way we handled it as a team, respectfully, thoughtfully, with considerations from all aspects for the commission, as well as internal staff and so on. It just went well. And I'm particularly proud of the way, Jonelle and Jerry, for example, put together their input and this final thing. I think it crystallizes the point we were reaching. Unbeknownst to us, that fact-finding that he did for the last 5 or 6 years, that crystallizes that we were headed in the right direction. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud that they're willing to stay available, even if they do change their phone number. Yes.
They might be serving on another commission, though, so. Thank you, Kay. Todd?
I think it's time. I think it served its purpose. It did so very, very well, but if we don't need it, we don't need it.
Thanks. Jesse?
Yes, I really appreciate the work that the commission's done over the years, and especially, Civic and every commissioner on there to do the work they've done. And I appreciate the data was provided here, this blast data made me feel a lot better. That, yes, that it's going in the right direction, it's there. Also, the fact that we're going to continue keeping the data and providing that, I think our citizens should be pleased with that they still be available, they still be able to put blast reports out, things like that. So I'm good with it.
Thanks, Jesse. Lisa?
To echo what everybody else has said, I think that the data you provided, Jerry, really drives the point home that things have improved vastly over the last 6 years, and I think y'all have done great work. Super appreciative. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Kelly?
I agree with everything everybody has said over here. Thank you guys for all your hard work. My only concern was the oversight. Sounds like we'll still have it, so I think it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion prior to a vote, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 48907-2022 as written?
I move to approve resolution number 489072022 as written.
We have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your work. 20 years. Okay, moving on to item 9B, ordinance number 23307-2022, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, dissolving the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission and repealing ordinance number 19603-2018 that established the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission. Okay, so you've heard my discussion and education, if you will, regarding the dissolution of the Quarry Commission. Per that discussion and through what we've discussed prior in executive session, you said when we talked about this with the same rationale with the actions of the Quarry Commission regarding the Wildlife Advisory Commission, you said, okay, Rob, you and Nancy go and talk to them. So Nancy and I did, and we talked to the chairman, David Krasinski, and he agreed with our thought process that perhaps the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission has run its course with what it was created to do for the city. And again, in the effort of efficiency and the time it takes our city secretary and her staff to make all of these things happen seamlessly, that we could dissolve the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission. That was created back in, it says 2018, but it was really created in 17, right? And because I know that because it was one of the first things I got to do when I came on council in 2017 was be the ex officio of the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission. So, and it was David Krasinski who was elected as the chair to start that up, and we created the commission, and we really didn't know, other than the ordinance itself directing where it directed us to go, what we needed to do. So I think we did a good job with that. One of the main reasons that we created the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission as a council before I was on council was to help us with our deer management of our deer population. And I know that's a highly contentious issue within the city. It doesn't mean by dissolving this commission, if you vote that way, that issue goes away. What it means is we handle it through a little bit different means. We'll still do the annual deer counts, if you will, with our Comal County, Texas wildlife biologist who will run that, and I know a lot of you participate in those deer counts every year. So we'll still track those numbers. If this is approved, that would be the last thing when we do deer counts in August, that David Krasinski will brief to us as the chairman before dissolution. One of the problems with where we are with all of that to talk about it is, as far as deer management goes, it's very difficult to do two things. One, to find a company or a contractor that's reputable enough to do this, to do the trappings for us, if that's what the commission recommended and the council elected to do, as we've done in the past. And then the second thing, we can't do it on public land. It has to be private land. And because it's such a contentious issue, we don't have anybody coming forward in the last few years to say, yeah, I'll let that happen on my land. So as far as management of our deer population goes, we're kind of at an impasse, and we haven't spent the allocated money of $25,000 a year in previous years that we've budgeted for that, up to $50,000. We haven't been able to spend that. That money goes elsewhere. Doesn't mean it's not an important issue. It is, but if we can't do that, then why do we have a commission continuing on to make that happen? Well, Rob, they come up with a wildlife management plan for us for the city of Garden Ridge, which is outstanding. And they've done that for us, and we will keep that and update that as appropriate. They've provided us with a tremendous amount of education, not just about the deer, but about wildlife, whether it's dark skies or the bats or the monarch population that migrates through here every year. They've done some great work with that. But as we've talked about, we think it's run its course for all those reasons that we've already stated. So again, we created the Wildlife Commission with an ordinance, so we'd have to rescind it with an ordinance. So that's the difference between the Corey with the resolution and Wildlife Management Advisory Commission with an ordinance. Before I turn it over to you guys, Marissa, did I miss anything?
Just to clarify, the commission was created in 2017. This ordinance says repeal ordinance number 196-03, 2018, just because that is the most recent version of
With
that
an
ordinance.
update, right, okay, great.
That's all.
Perfect, thanks for the clarification. Nancy?
No, I don't think you've missed anything.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council, I'll start at my right. Kelly?
I don't have much to say on this topic, except, I mean, if the commission's not being used to its fullest, then why is it around? That's my only opinion.
Thank you. Lisa?
I think the commission has done good work, and the majority of the work is revolves around the deer counts, and that still continues. So I'm good with it.
Thank you. Jesse?
I'll echo what's already been said, so I'm good with it.
Todd, you and I were here long before, so.
I was probably the impetus for all of that. It's run its course. We're monitoring our deer herd. It seems to be doing okay. We keep doing the counts. That's all we need. We don't need a commission anymore.
Thanks. Okay. What's that? Sorry? Thumbs up? Okay, great. All right, so if there's no further discussion there, can I get a motion to approve ordinance number 23307-2022 as written?
Move to approve ordinance number 23307-2022 as written.
I have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, on to item number 9C, City of Garden Ridge 50th anniversary. Okay, so we scored a touchdown with the single largest event in the history of Garden Ridge on the morning of the 4th with our flag raising, gathering, and parade with just under 1,000 people now, right? So somewhere around 700. So, which was fantastic. And if not to be outdone by ourselves that same day, and we had a lot of good rationale 10 months ago when we planned it to be the same day, just based on schedules. We broke our own record, and Chief, you and I estimated between 1,200 to 1,500 people here. It's just under 2,000, so I love it. So literally, it was the single biggest event in the history, the 50-year history of the city of Garden Ridge. And we raised over, to tell the story one more time, it was budget meeting, my first budget meeting, like 11 June last year, and you and I and Karen are done talking about it, and I said, hey, I just hung up a plaque in the mayor's office that said we turned into a city 6 July 1972, so that means we turn 50 next year. We should have a big celebration. What do you think? Well, we have a little bit of discretionary budget left, and we put aside $2,500 in this year's budget. And we ended up raising over, because of the hard work of a lot of people up here and throughout the city and volunteers, we raised over $50,000 in sponsorships. We didn't have to spend any of that $2,500, which you guys authorized up to $5,000 when we were worried about sponsorships rolling in, and they rolled in. Great job. Great job. Everybody up here. And we did it with hundreds of volunteer hours, the seamless work of Public Works, the police department, our city admin staff, finance, and especially the 50th anniversary committee. And Linda, Kay, we had our first meeting back in October of last year in the Blue Bonnet Room, and that's where we brainstormed. We had Kelly with us before he was on council, right? You hadn't even thought about council yet. So, and we had just a lot of people working so hard to put everything together. And then, you know, a few short months later, here we are with the single biggest event. I loved it. I loved the band. I loved the laser light show. I was still skeptic going into it on the 4th of July, but I am no longer a skeptic. I loved it. And that was the brainchild of Stephen, primarily going, hey, we don't want to light the city on fire, because the fireworks guy said you probably would, Rob, so that's usually a bad thing. And he's booked for the 4th, so we have to do it on the Saturday the 3rd, right? So, yeah, Sunday the 3rd. So then Stephen says, hey, what about a laser light show, right? And 4th of July happens, and Nancy had already contacted the band, and the band, cousin of a band member, he runs the laser light show, so it's all about who you know, right? So we put it all together, and we couldn't have done it without everybody out there. There's too many names to go through and thank, but I want to say it to everybody, thank you for what you did, what you continue to do, and council, thank you for authorizing all of that, because we didn't move a muscle or spend a dollar without making sure you guys were okay with it. So, and you were, and it was great. So we'll do the next one in 50 years, right, Linda? What's that? 25. Well, we're going to open the time capsule in 25 years, but I'm supposed to
Mayor,
pass this to you. Go ahead.
For the record, I've already had people asking when we're starting to plan for next year.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's called the 4th of July Gathering, Flag Raising, and Parade, next Tuesday, July 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're welcome to come. I'll have a laser pointer that will be the laser light show. That's, yeah, I think we'll stop with that. So, we can all go to shirts and their Jubilee. Hey, that's great. Okay, so I'm done talking about it. There's too much to say. You guys have heard my speech 1,000 times already, everybody out there. So, council, anything else to add? Great shirts, great bling, merch, all that stuff. We have a bunch left, so everybody gets an ornament, as many as you want. So we got the tumblers. We got all kinds of stuff to give, which is great because we have things to give out for city recognition and whatnot. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are we going to send out any kind of letter or email or post anything on the Facebook page maybe about that these items are still for sale? Or maybe you already have. But I've had a lot of people ask if they can purchase after the fact.
Yes, all they need to do is come to City Hall. The hallway's full of it.
We will be posting about it on Facebook. That's already been discussed. We'll definitely post about it and all of the different options with the pictures that you see. I don't know that we've even talked or thought about sending out any kind of mass communication about it. It could be something that goes in the grapevine, though, just a little blurb about it. That's another option, but we'll definitely put it on social media soon.
That's a great point, Kelly. Yeah. No. And I know what I'm getting my family, extended family for Christmas. They're going to get T-shirts because that's pretty easy, and tumblers and ornaments, tons of ornaments. So that's great work. Lisa, anything else? Okay. Jesse, Todd, Kay?
Yes.
Go.
Thanks, especially to the general. But also, I just wanted to mention a shout out to Catherine Wilson, who was the reporter from the Herald. She took the time to work within Rob's schedule to come out, interview Rob, and we had an edition. She made sure it happened before we buried the capsule. So the edition is there in the capsule for the next 25 years. And then she fought with her editor to try to get a follow-up printed that we could get it in the capsule. That didn't happen, but I went yesterday to her office and picked up copies of the second article, and there's a stunning picture of our mayor above the fold burying the capsule. So the copies are in my car. I forgot to bring them in. But they're available. We'll leave, just as we did the first, we'll leave a couple of issues with Linda in the library. She's maintaining them. So anyway, shout out to Catherine Wilson for
Are
it.
you being sarcastic about the picture, or no?
Well, I'll let you see your
Oh,
copy.
gosh. All right, maybe I
You
should-
are above the fold.
Okay,
We
great.
got above the fold this time.
Wow.
Anyway, she
Big
did a
stuff.
super job. She was fun to work with.
Nancy?
Every council member, including the mayor, has a copy of the Herald Zeitung's article. The first one in front of the dais there, so you have it to remember the 50th.
Thank you. And Kay, thanks for putting that whole process together with the Herald Zeitung. And Linda, thanks for being willing to spend so much time with her I mean, if anybody knows the history of Garden Ridge in our local area and all of Texas, it's you. So thank you so much. Great job, Kay. Okay, moving on. Updates. Before we get into updates and city council projects, so you guys all got an email written by me but sent to you from Nancy so that there's no, as a reminder, there's no possible interference with the Texas Open Meetings Act. So, and you guys all know the Texas Open Meetings Act, and for everybody that doesn't, when you are a member of the council or the mayor, then in order so that we don't discuss things that aren't in a public forum that are city business, we can only talk to outside of an open meeting or a potential of walking quorum at another event. We can only talk about city business of that nature, of that specific type of business with one other council member. And that includes electronic, telephone, and in-person interaction. Anything above that, and then we put the Texas Open Meetings Act, not in jeopardy, but we open ourselves up to scrutiny by doing that. And that's so that we discuss things in a public forum because we're elected public servants. Okay. In that email, I said that, hey, we would talk about some specific projects and assignments for this council meeting as we discuss the updates section. I want to change that a little bit. What I'd like to do is we'll go through and do these updates as written on the agenda, but I would like to talk with each one of you about a specific project and area that I think you're either already working on or you'd be great to work on with me. And then we'll put, if you agree with that, then we'll put that actual update item on August's agenda. The reason I say with me is because as we go through all of these different things we're doing for the city, the mayor really needs to be in the know on that type of stuff. So, and sometimes those are smaller projects and sometimes they're much bigger projects that we'll talk about here in a little bit. So I don't want to necessarily do that right now tonight, but I want to get with you individually over the next month to talk about some things that you want to work on specifically and what I can do to help and if we can team up on that. That doesn't mean that you're doing work on a project that one of us or a couple of us will brief tonight. It doesn't mean that you're not working on that project. It means you can still work on that and do those great communication work on the project, whether you're talking to TxDOT or you're talking to a local community or the Parks Committee or the city administration or the chief or Stephen on certain projects. But when you let the city know or me know about that, you got to be careful with who you put on the no list. So you can't send it to two councilmen or the mayor and another councilman, because then that is a potential, we don't act on it, but it has a potential to violate the Texas Open Meetings Act, or at least put it in scrutiny. But what you can always do to get that information to me and the entire council is you can always send it through email or a phone call or a text. Email is probably preferable, to Nancy and or Marissa, and then they can shotgun that out to all of us, including me, if there's any question about the Texas Open Meetings Act. So I'm not delaying the process, but I want to talk to each one of you specifically and individually to see about that stuff. I will give an example. I'm going to talk to Kelly about he and I working hand in hand with the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce because of your vast experience with that as a businessman and a member, and now a member of council, and our work with Mindy Paxton. I think that's something that you and I can work on together with your expertise. So, and then I'll talk with each one of you over the next month, next 3 weeks, to get it on the agenda for August. So are you guys good with that plan? Is there anything you want to discuss? We can talk about anything right now in an open meeting. No? Todd? Kay? Good? Okay. Awesome. All right. Going on to projects. So meeting with Comal County officials concerning residential development on Bat Cave Road outside of the city limits and the impacts on Garden Ridge. Lisa, floor is yours on this one.
Okay, so been working on this for about a year, just trying to keep the city in the loop on what the county is doing and what's happening over there on Bat Cave. The latest update is that we met with Laddie Denton with Bitter Blue. We met with him, Nancy, Rob, and I met with him this morning, sat with him for an hour. And, you know, while I think, you know, we've all lamented that there's not a whole lot we can do, I've worked every scenario I can with Cynthia. I send her another email. Can we do this? Can we do that? You know, we still have lots of concerns. You know, the one we hear the most is traffic. Worked with Cynthia on, hey, can we do a traffic impact analysis? Legally, we can, but we don't have any recourse. You know, we can all look at the analysis, but the county has already said they're not going to help us. and it's their road. So we went into this meeting with Bitter Blue, really with a friend-making perspective, and to get, the information from the horse's mouth. We don't have a lot of communication from the county still, and then we end up hearing a bunch of different rumors. I think we all walked away feeling a little bit better about it. It's a very nicely designed community. They're doing lots of stuff to, looking at some of my notes here, they're certainly doing natural grasses and wild flowers. They're retaining their trees. They're putting in, they're putting in a rock wall, and then there is a historic rock wall that they're going to manage and work on as well. But it was a really interesting meeting. Actually, the Bitter Blue has been working on this for about 15 years with the Dirk sisters, and it's just kind of come to this point. And they're still not all the way, they don't have their plans all the way developed, but they are looking at starting, is next week? Week after on Unit 1?
Next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the development itself is still looking at around 250 lots, 248. And when they put up that plan, I don't know if y'all caught this. I mean, the map they put up with the plat was from 2018. So this has been in the works for a long time before it ever got in front of us.
What size lot?
They're acre lots.
Acre or more.
Acre or more. So anything else, Mayor? What did I miss?
Yeah, we went there to establish a professional working relationship with them and information sharing and start that communication process to get the truth data. Not that we weren't getting that before, but we want to establish that relationship with a developer that is just outside of our city limits. Like you said, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a beautiful development, acre or greater lots. 200 and just over 250 to begin with the potential to grow into Bear County across Comal Creek, but not for a long time. There's no actual way that they can do more than that, just based on the water availability and those restrictions. So I think that assuaged at least my concerns with them building, quarter acre lots, if you will. So they are the developers of the quarry and then some beautiful areas in Charbonneau Park. And we have a professional working relationship with them and helping with communication sharing. And to the effect of Laddie Denton understands our concerns within the city and the local area about the traffic impacts of Bat Cave Road, because that's going to be, 700 to 1,000 cars, could be the same car a day going in and out on Bat Cave, because that's one point of access and one point of exit, because they're landlocked if they go to the south. So, and Laddie said he'd help us with communication with the agencies that would improve 3009 and other areas to entice a little bit less traffic on Bat Cave Road and working your way to 3009 with a 4-lane highway rather than 2 lanes. So I was very happy with the meeting. So Nancy, anything else? Are we missing on that?
No, I think you covered it very well. I know I came out of the meeting feeling much better, knowing what really is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'd say that, just to add, that Laddie's been a player for a long time. Everybody that we know who has an interest in this, he's worked with before. I mean, he is well aware of Annalisa Peace with the Edwards Aquifer Authority and Jeff with the Nature Conservancy. So he knows all of the people and he knows our concerns. And I felt a little bit better about it. I did.
Yeah, he gave us the history on
Yes.
those properties there back a couple generations and how selling those properties has worked and whatnot. So I feel much better after that meeting than I did prior. It's out of our city limits. There's almost nothing that we can do other than have a communication process with them and and work through it. So, anything else, Lisa?
No, I think that was it.
Council, any questions for
Oh, one more
us?
thing on
Oh,
that. We
yeah.
also are working on scheduling a meeting with Clayton Perry, who is the City of San Antonio council member that covers, whose district that covers that ETJ, where that development is going in. So, okay, we're just trying to get, all of the people that, have an interest or have any kind of input in this project to, get us all going in the same direction, or at least communicating with each other.
I love it. Thank you. Anybody else?
Is there a drawing available of the development plan, or is that something just shared with you but not available?
He said he wasn't ready to release it, that they still had some work to do on it.
Thank you.
That was a good question. Anything else? All right, Jesse, you're up. What's developing in Garden Ridge? You're going to like this.
No. Oh, there it is now. Okay. Yeah. So, something I come across in Shirts was doing, and of course they have a different system. I'm limited capability to what I could do, but I wanted to do something for Garden Ridge that had something that people could see what's going on in Garden Ridge. And so I'm limited to PowerPoint and just drawings, and I was able to figure out links and all that, thanks to Kat, and get it working here. So, so I got the map downloaded from the city. And so right now, we basically only have 3 things under consideration here, developments, and I label them A, B, and C, Pincher Mark, WMT Ventures, and then number C is under development. There's work going on. I know we got a rezoning or, thing that approved here a few months ago. So, but this is set up, and it's available already on our city webpage, and I'll show you where to look for it later. But let's see here. So you can just either click on the letters here or click up here on the links. So click on there, and you go to where the drawing is, and all the information that I'm having here, drawings and pictures, is public for public record. It was, for Cynthia's purpose, public record. It was presented in a city council meeting, so it's in the public domain. So I'm not taking anything that wasn't shared with the public. Okay. So here's where the property is. And I think I just click again, and you see the drawing that they shared, okay? And then you go down to the bottom, and you return to the map. You go to B, and it shows that one, okay? And C, and all I show for C is that, where is it? Come on. Is where it was located and has been rezoned. So, and I have a, so if somebody doesn't click on the return to map, if you go to the next slide, it goes to a map in between. So, so I got to back up there, so in case, you just do clicking. But anyway, and I'll continue to update as we get new things and other drawings. So, but I have this available. Like I said, it's available already on the webpage. If you go to the Planning and Zoning Commission link on the city webpage, it's over here under, it's already what's developing in Garden Ridge. So anyway. Just something I've been working on, wanted to share it. I've been wanting to deal with planning and zoning, but they've been canceling meetings, so I finally decided, we'll just do it here. So anyway, that's my intro.
That's great. Thanks, Jesse. Nice work.
If you want anything different on there or additions, I'll be happy to add on things, so.
That's great work. Anybody have anything else on this for Jesse? Thank you.
Okay.
Nope. Okay.
Yes. I just want to say, this is like a V8 moment. Like, why on earth did we not think of this earlier? I think it's a fabulous concept, and I appreciate the fact that you created it and you will continue to watch it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Hey, man, you're still up, number
Okay.
3.
So after one of the council meetings, we had a council, when last time we talked about this, we talked about, maybe considering having a representative on the MPO. So Mayor spoke with Kevin Hadass from Selma and approached me at one of the Northeast Partnership and had one interview question. Are you an engineer? Yes, okay, we're going forward. That was it.
Do you have time?
Oh, time too, yeah. So I just started looking at research of what this was, okay? And instead of just talking about it, I thought I'd put a few slides together just to educate y'all, because it's really complicated, okay? It's not simple. So we have the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is referred to the MPO, okay? And there's a Technical Advisory Committee, Okay, that's a subcommittee from that. Okay, do I use the clicker now? Okay, so here's just a brief description of what it does, what the MPO does. Looked at all transportation type planning processes for the area. Emphasis on providing, equal access, transportation choices, things like that. So a lot of the projects that were done, the MPO has worked on getting actually finances for the 2252 widening, plus got extra financing for crossing 3009. That's what this was done. This group did that. And the Transportation Policy Board at the bottom actually leads the MPO and decides how to use the funds. Okay. The MPO study area boundaries is Bexar County, Comal County, Guadalupe, and part of Kendall County, and there's some numbers. This chart is actually from 2018, so it's a little outdated. Note that the Alamo area MPO is one of 400 MPOs in the nation. Okay, so a lot of competition for things. So I think Kevin mentioned at one of the meetings, at the one in Northeast Partnership, yes, we're going to have a lot of, discomfort going through 35 during the expansion, but the money's being spent here. Think about the positive there, and we're going to get improvements with time. So the Transportation Policy Board, again, is essentially the board directors, okay, for the MPO. And these are the agencies that are represented. So representatives from each of these agencies are on this Transportation Policy Board. Bexar County has 4, and City of San Antonio has 6 representatives, and there's Northeast Partnership. So Northeast Partnership has a representative on here, okay? And I'll cover the representative in a minute. Now, the Technical Advisory Committee, basically, and I'll just go to the bottom line, makes the technical recommendations to the Transportation Policy Board, to the bigger board, okay? And here's all the subcommittees that the Technical Advisory Committee oversees. There's a lot of them there, and you hear about these in some of the meetings, bicycle mobility, pedestrian mobility, all those are involved in different things, so anyway. And these are different agencies, but these are the ones that represent the MPO. I mean, the Technical Advisory Committee. Again, Northeast Partnership is in there. Comal County is also in there. And here I want to show is our representatives. So Comal County and Northeast Partnership essentially represents, we're part of both of the groups. For the Transportation Policy Board, Comal County rep is Kevin Webb. He's the County Commissioner of Precinct 3. He's also the chair of the board at this time. So we got that. And then Kevin Haddaz is the Northeast Partnership rep. He's representing the City of Selma City Council. For the Technical Advisory Committee is Comal County is the county engineer, and then Blake Partridge from the City of Universal City is the Northeast Partnership. Each member has an alternate identified, so somebody can always attend a meeting. So what the thought here process is that Kevin's working on a succession plan for either Blake or his alternative, and then maybe I'll fit in there. It could take time, so it's not going to happen next month. It could be 3 or 4 months or maybe a year. But anyway, just to give you a little intro, and that's all I know at this point. I've asked Joel Hicks, who's a councilman for City of Cibolo. He's also on the Technical Advisory Committee. I had asked him for information on this. Everything I found here was on the website, and I'm still waiting for him to give me some more information. But if I know that, I'll get some more information to y'all. But anyway, that's just an overview, high level. But again, there's a lot of moving parts in this work. So.
That's great. Thanks for volunteering to do this, Jesse, and let's see this through.
I hope, yeah.
If it
Looking
takes a
forward to
year,
it.
it takes a year, but
I watched the last Technical Advisory Committee meeting. It's available online live, and so I watched that one, and I'll continue watching. It happens on the first Friday at 1:30 p.m. So I'm going to attend as much as I can online because the meeting is on 410. Past 410, past I-10, so it's quite a ways out there. So if you get stuck in traffic, maybe late to a first Friday event.
We'll keep the light on for you.
Okay, thank you.
We have our foot in the door on the MPO, and this is outstanding. So thank you, Jesse, for stepping up and being willing to do this. Why this is so important is with a foot in the door representing Garden Ridge on the city council with our interests of our residents and the master development plan of Garden Ridge there. That is how we help up the priority of road improvements for 3009. For 2252, obviously, that money's already allocated for that. So all of those things help us. So thanks. It's great work. Okay, on to item number 10-4, mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts on Garden Ridge. And that is Todd and Kelly.
Well, I don't have a lot to report yet, but Todd and I both have been speaking with a lot of people in the community and in the outlying areas of Garden Ridge. They're very concerned about the impending, I'd say almost threat of an encroachment of and possibility of San Antonio annexing those areas and what could be built out there. So, while we're talking, I do want to give a little story because I have a friend who has a firsthand experience of what can happen. And if anybody's heard of Sendero Ranch off 281 north of Marshall, we had some public officials in San Antonio that decided to purchase the land in front of a neighborhood. Well, let's say 2005, our friend they bought 7 acres, built a house for $550,000, which probably be a $1.5 million house now. And in doing that, so she built this house, ended up moving, decided to sell about 10 years later. Well, in the interim, San Antonio had come in, annexed that area, or maybe it was already part of San Antonio, but they zoned it Section 8. And they put a Section 8 apartment complex right in front of their neighborhood. And this is a neighborhood that has a security guard, an officer in there. And I went in this neighborhood several times. We're talking about lockdown city. They do not let anybody in, even if they know you. They have to call. They have to get approval each time. You're not ever on a list. And so my point being is that once this was built, the property values of this neighborhood, when she went to sell it for $850,000, ended up getting $550,000. It downgraded their neighborhood, and so anyway, I just wonder. That's a firsthand story that I have, and it's very likely, it's very possible something like that can happen on our doorstep. So I just want to leave it at that. Todd, if you want to add anything, but we're talking with a lot of people right now, so.
Todd?
This is one of those things that's going to take time. We've got to communicate. We've got to get out to the local businesses, to the people who don't live in Garden Ridge but claim to be in Garden Ridge. Whether it's down Batcave, whether it's Rockwall Ranch, whether it's Lewis Ranch, all of those things. I know Rockwall and Lewis are ETJ to New Braunfels, but that's just an example. I get a lot of supportive words, but we never see any action on this because nobody ever wants to pay city tax. I don't blame them. I don't want to pay city tax. I live here. I own bloody council. But sometimes it's a necessary evil, and I do think we need to start talking it up for all of us and for anybody out there that supports this idea to look at people voluntarily bringing themselves into the city of Garden Ridge. And what do we have that we bring? What's our tax rate? About 30 cents? What's San Antonio's? Last I looked, it was 56. What's New Braunfels? I think they were 46. I may be off on these numbers. Don't hold me to the micrometer measurement of them. But that's something that we bring to the table in a big way, is fiscal responsibility and a lower tax bill. If I had a choice between paying 56 cents or 30 cents, I'm going to pay 30 cents every time I possibly can. It's an uphill battle, but I would feel bad if I didn't try it. You know what I mean? So we'll keep talking to people. I think we need to keep giving updates monthly to the council. But if anybody out there, anybody that's listening, anybody in the audience wants to talk to myself or Kelly about it, please do so. We need ideas because we are going to get surrounded. The avalanche has started. It's coming this direction, and we need to figure out a way to control the flow so we don't get buried in it.
Okay, thanks. Anything good? You were working on it? You're scaring me.
Working on it.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom.
No,
It's
it was
pos-
just,
it's- It's
there's
positive
an
conversation.
avalanche.
It's just,
You
look
bet.
at the growth that's going on all around us, and it's going on everywhere. And to keep Garden Ridge what it is, we're gonna have to take some action.
Thanks. Keep the conversation going, Lisa.
Well, Cynthia, clarify for me, the annexation laws that were passed in 2019 require 100% consent from an area for general law cities?
So the answer is yes. You now actually have to have a property owner petition the city and say, you know, it's all voluntary
It's either
annexation.
petition or election, but we can't do
So
election.
so
that
it is,
correct?
it is petition only, because there is no more involuntary annexation the way that the laws are currently written, even for home rule cities. So it is now, you know, a voluntary process to get new properties into the city. But something that both Councilman Smith and Arvidsson brought up here, which is, I think it's probably time for us to do some give an overview and some training materials on development agreements, perhaps for those for those property owners who are not yet ready to commit. Perhaps, you know, a development agreement for those in the ETJ, which says, you know, for a certain period of time, you will remain in the ETJ and you will not be annexed. And that's, you know, gets negotiated between the city and the property owners, but that provides them some protections and provides some buffer areas, so that those might be things and some tools that we need to start considering.
Thank you.
That's a great question, Lisa. That's great. Anything else, Kelly? Todd, great work. Thank you. Okay, 10A5 traffic along FM 3009. Kay.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thanks. That'll end number 10, and we'll open up item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Remember, this isn't a discussion, it's just a, hey, here's what I'd like to see on next month's agenda. Kelly. Okay. So to word that with what Cynthia just shared with us, talking about consent, how would we word that, Marissa? She's got the puzzled look.
Cynthia and I will figure it out.
Okay. Is that a good enough answer for? Okay, for right now. Okay, great, go.
And I'd like to, you know, put the idea out there, and I know Todd's talked about it. Todd and I were talking about it a couple years ago, but about possibly having an outlying committee of members to maybe putting forth, I don't know if you call it a commission, I don't know how exactly you'd word that, but a group of people in the outlying areas to help, you know, with what we're talking about, to help propel us and help get us in the door with people who might be averse to joining Garden Ridge.
Okay, so kind of along those same lines, but Marissa
Yeah,
and
but-
Cynthia will come up with
Yep.
the wording. Okay, great. Thanks, great input. Lise? Jesse? Todd? Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. We will go on to number 12, citizen comment period. It is 2 minutes, and if you come on up, we ask that you state your name and your address for the record, and then sign in with Marissa as well as you leave. So anybody interested in coming up for 2 minutes? Dr. Miller. The floor is yours, sir.
Dr. Jim Miller, 9910 Marie Meadow. Discussion during the course of the council meeting, I had a couple of questions. I didn't hear, nor have I seen anything about enforcement of the water stage levels. I don't know if I missed it or not, but I don't know if something we're going to throw on the police or what? The dissolution of the Wildlife Community Committee. I remember back when it all started with the deer brouhaha and the survey, et cetera. And the one thing I worried about more than anything else back then was accidents with deer. We're expanding our road work here in the city, and more people will be coming down Bat Cave, and I just want to make sure there's a way to monitor how many accidents we have with the deer, because they're going to be displaced. And I know there was a trend down over the last few years, and I want to see if that trend goes up, with more roads and more people on those roads, and maybe something we have to look at. The other thing I remember them talking about when we first started was the feral hogs. I don't know how that's going to be impacted. And a little minor thing that I thought about, and they did some research on, was, believe it or not, was snake bites. And they didn't monitor them, but the thing that they did do that was important was, if you had a snake bite, where do you go? Back then, they didn't have these neighborhood dock-in-the-box things. Was this me? I'm sorry. But you can't go to the dock-in-the-box for a snake bite. That's basically what it was. I
Okay.
ended.
Thank you, Dr.
Sorry,
Miller.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, no more takers? Oh, I missed it. Wait, citizen comment period. Remember, we're not allowed to comment, okay? Sir, please state your name and your address, and then when you're done, check in with Marissa.
Okay, my name's Bev Kokas, 22903 FM 3009. So basically the first residence outside city limits. So I've been doing some research on what the ETJ for San Antonio means, and since Kelly and Todd contacted me about it. And my understanding is it does require 100% vote from us to become part of the city. But it also, with the new rule in 2019, and I don't think they've revised this yet, that if we are ETGA to San Antonio, we can be subject to their laws without being able to participate in voting on their laws or any of their, so basically representation without, or taxation without representation. That may be something that you need to look into and bring up to those who are resistant to becoming part of Garden Ridge. That is one thing that I know. And there are several people out in our area that know we're part of San Antonio, and they're proud of that. So that may be another stumbling block. One or two of them that you and I have talked about also. So that's about all I have, really.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Going once, twice. All right. That'll conclude citizens' comments. We'll open up item number 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members on the different things listed. So Jesse, we've already talked about the Alamo area MPO. Anything else you want to say about that? No. Good, all right. Without going down through the list right yet, anybody have anything they want to add before I throw in some stuff? No? Todd? No? Okay. Northeast Partnership Luncheon is tomorrow. So look at all the great things. And I think our Mayor Pro Tem is attending, right? Outstanding. So love to see you all there. Anytime we can get one of us, at least, if not two, to a Tri-County Chamber of Commerce event, a luncheon, a meeting, a mixer, that would be great. What else? And there will be a trash pickup event on Long FM 2252 in August for families of Garden Ridge. We just haven't come up with the right Saturday and the right times yet, so we'll work on that. Anybody else have anything to add? Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go down the list a little bit. I did attend the Tri-County yesterday. Mindy ran the meeting this time. She wasn't available the last month. And it was, I'd just say much more upbeat tempo and participation and so on. She's definitely an advocate for our city and I took a picture of our sign. Our sign is officially there now as well. She's an advocate for our city, and she keeps encouraging people to network with us and so on and so on. But it's at this point strictly a networking organization, and it's going to take some effort on our behalf to reach out to the other people, because there are members there, of course, that, in my opinion, I don't know that we're going to benefit when we're talking about development on 2252. But she runs a great meeting, and she had a plaque for us that she wanted to bring to the next council meeting, and I told her it was tonight. And she said, she has another commitment tonight. She was going to reach out to you and see if she could reach you before, but.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
I just haven't had a chance yet.
Pardon me?
I haven't had a chance to get back to her.
Right, so,
but
I
she
mean,
reached out.
that may be coming. It's just a plaque acknowledging our participation now. But, I mean, she's definitely on board.
Thanks for going to that.
Sure.
That's awesome. Anybody else? Okay, we will close out item number 13 and go into executive session, and bear with me while I read this loud for everybody. The City Council will recess its open meeting and reconvene in executive session. 14A pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551-0711, 551-0712, consultation with attorney, and 551-072, deliberations about real property. A1, to receive legal advice regarding proposed revisions to ordinance number 7 and any potential liability issues. 14.2, to seek legal advice regarding pending litigation, cause number Charlie 2022-0615 Bravo, Michael C. Dumgard II versus City Council for the City of Garden Ridge, Texas. 14.3, to consult with and receive legal advice regarding variance and special use permit processes related to development project Guadalupe Ready Mix proposed concrete batch plant at 20762 FM 2252. With that, we will recess in regular session at 9:02, and we'll reconvene. Nancy, you want to reconvene in here or in the back? Okay. You guys just want to stay in here? Okay. We'll reconvene in here at, we'll just go at 9:15, give us plenty of time to take a break and talk to residents and citizens if we have a chance. We are recessed in open session at 9:03. Thanks. All right. We will reconvene the open session of our meeting with number 15, item number 15, business items. There are no business items to bring forward as a result of the conclusion of the executive session. So we will move on to item number 16, adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 10:20 p.m. Thank you.